Imagine being a 10-year-old kid with the eyes of a cold-blooded killer. Karen just revealed his mana, and his cousin Leo is realizing that he didn't just pick a fight with a bookworm, he picked a fight with a demon who is about to reset his entire life bar. 5 seconds later, Leo is a permanent fixture in the back of the sofa, and Karen is looking at his uncles like, who's next? But to understand how this kid became such a menace, we have to go back to the day he died. Slave-born, Imperial Guard, and apparently the only guy in history stupid enough to die for a mad emperor. His best friend Halo Reston is leading the revolution, begging him to just walk away. But Cain doesn't do walking away. He stays. He fights. He dies. He wakes up in a cosmic waiting room completely naked and wondering if this is what freedom feels like. He's ready to just vibe in the void, but the universe has other plans. A blinding flash later, and he's staring at a younger version of his killer. He's not in hell, he's in a nursery. He was reborn as Halo's grandson. Fast forward 10 years. Karen, our MC, is sitting in a history lesson listening to a professor glaze his past self. The professor claims Cain died as a symbol of loyalty. Karen literally can't deal with the cringe. He tells the professor that Cain actually just wanted a quiet death, and Halo is just using Cain's ghost for a PR stunt. The professor looks like he's about to have a stroke, so Karen just hits him with a just kidding and walks out. Deep down, he's fuming. He sees his dad, Pale, the youngest son of the Duke. Pale is praying again because he's worried Karen won't awaken magic. See, Pale is the failure of the family. No magic, just a genius for business. Karen gives him the most wholesome "you're a great dad" speech just to keep the man from spiraling. They head to dinner, but as soon as Karen is alone, the cute kid mask falls off. He remembers a conversation from his past life. Halo told him magic is a silver spoon birthright. Cain just wanted a quiet life away from the noise. The irony is physical. But here's the kicker. Karen isn't a failure. He awakened his mana 3 years ago. A few days later, they arrive at the main estate on a train that Pale basically paid for. Pale might not have mana, but he carries 30% of the family's entire budget. The train pulls into the Azure Sea Fortress. Karen sees the statue of Halo and his past self. He decides right then he's going to be the worst trash this family has ever seen. The train stops. The reception is cold. The Seawave Knights are standing there, and Karen can tell immediately these guys are actually competent. They're escorted inside, and Karen is left alone in a reception room the size of a football stadium. Then comes the cousin. Leo Reston enters the chat with the ego of a Discord mod who just got admin perms. He starts trash-talking Pale, calling him a commoner with money. Leo thinks he's being intimidating because he has a little mana glow. Karen's eyes go dark. He lets his own mana explode. He tells Leo there isn't room for 2 mad dogs in this house, and Leo is about to get put down. The uncles, Raphael and Tails, walk in just in time to see Karen absolutely fold Leo like a cheap lawn chair. Raphael grabs Karen and starts screaming. Karen just stares him down and asks, "If it were your father being insulted, would you just stand there?" Raphael blames Pale for poor upbringing, but the head butler interrupts. The Grand Duke wants to see them. Now, they walk into the office. Halo is sitting there, looking like a final boss. He tells Pale to shut up and asks Karen for the truth. Karen keeps it simple. Leo insulted his dad. Raphael tries to intervene, but Halo shuts him down with a literal desk slam. Then Karen drops the real bomb. He's had magic for 3 years. Halo is stunned. "Why hide it?" he asks. Karen puts on the most punchable "I'm just a kid" smile and says, "Because secrets are fun." Leo is brought in looking like he lost a fight with a wood chipper. Karen starts apologizing while repeating every single insult Leo actually said. It's a masterclass in snitching. One look from Karen's glowing eyes forces Leo to admit the truth. Halo sighs. Punishment is postponed until after the ceremony tomorrow. Later, Halo tells the butler that Karen is different. The kid wasn't just defending his dad, he was calling out the Duke for neglecting the family branch. Halo is curious to see what happens at the ritual. Deep in the forest, a mysterious runestone begins to glow. The vibes at the Azure Sea Fortress are currently tense. We've got the whole Reston family gathered in the middle of a forest at night, which is never a good sign. Karen is looking at the lineup, and it's basically an elite-only club. He can feel the pressure coming off the elders. Even though they're retired, these guys are still absolute units. Then you've got the primary branch, Tails and his daughter Leon, plus Raphael and the family punching bag Leo. Karen realizes if the whole squad showed up, this awakening ceremony is a way bigger deal than he thought, and then he sees it, the Stone of Oath. Halo steps up and gives the tutorial. Step through the rift, see a world, and use whatever weapon you find to end it. Every person sees a different world based on their soul. Karen gives the good boy response, but inside, his 50-year-old soldier brain is already locked in. Halo is staring at him, trying to see if the kid flinches. He doesn't. Halo pulls out a key, activates the stone, and the air starts to scream. Mana starts spiraling into a pillar of light that probably has the neighbors calling the police. The rift splits open and it looks like a hole in reality. The shockwave is so heavy that the adults have to brace themselves, but Karen is just standing there like it's a breezy Tuesday. Halo asks if he's scared. Pale is actually the one panicking, asking if his son is really okay. Karen gives him a smile. "I'll be back, Dad." He steps toward the light. Destroy the world beyond the rift? Easy. Destroying things was literally my entire job description in my last life. Halo tells him to overcome his fear. Karen looks back one last time thinking, fear? I'm just wondering if there's a snack bar in there. He vanishes into the stone. Haas transition to the rift world. Karen lands, and the first thing he notices is the heat and the smell. He recognizes this place immediately. This isn't just any world, it's the Imperial Palace. Specifically, the day it fell. The stone isn't showing him a dream, it's digging up his trauma. He sees his old comrades lying in the dirt, and for a second, the mask slips. He's pissed. These are the stairs leading to the throne where he died. A voice echoes through the fire, calling him the child of the blue wolves. The stone tells him it's time to fulfill a covenant made with his ancestors. A figure steps out of the flames. Karen's eyes go wide. A demon? The entity tells him that a mere demon couldn't invade his bloodline. It tells him to ascend the throne. What you desire is there. Karen walks through the doors. The voice tells him it's been a while. The throne room is drenched in red light, and there's something sitting on the chair. Karen is thinking about the Mad Emperor, the man who sold his soul to a demon and got everyone killed for it. Walking through this room feels like treading on the ghosts of his brothers. The voice calls him a lost soul. And then, on behalf of the Blue Clan, it welcomes him. It points to a sword, his beloved sword, the demonic blade Ruin. But there's a catch. Ruin eats the user's soul. It's a suicide weapon. The entity explains that Halo already cleansed the evil thoughts in it. What Karen sees is just a mental distortion. Awaken your sword, child. Karen hesitates. If he picks it up, does he go back to being the Emperor's dog, the man who lived and died for a monster? He remembers Halo's words, overcome your fear, and that's when it clicks. The real purpose of this ritual isn't to get a cool sword, it's to confront the source of his trauma so he can finally use azure clarity. In that case, he grabs the hilt. His eyes ignite. The fire vanishes, replaced by a deep, crushing ocean of mana. The demonic form of Ruin begins to peel away. The rust and the blood fall off, revealing the true blade underneath. This isn't Ruin. This is the sword of the progenitor, Rael. The history books didn't mention this one because the power it holds is different. Karen's body starts to buckle. The mana is being engraved directly into his bones. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose, but Karen is grinning. The intensity is exactly what he needed. He asks the voice for the real name of the blade. This is the sword that beheaded 1,000 demons, the execution sword, guillotine. Karen looks at the blade. It's perfect. The voice tells him it suits his destiny. Karen looks up at the empty throne. You're the blue dragon, right? The family's guardian. The dragon tells him he's not strong enough to handle its true name yet. Find me in the North Sea when you're ready. Karen shrugs. Cool. How do I leave? The dragon tells him he already knows. Karen takes a stance. He doesn't just walk out. He cuts the world in half. The elders are waiting, looking bored. Pale is apologizing to Halo for being worried. Halo is actually being a decent grandfather for once, telling Pale it's hard to watch a son go through this. Pale is touched. He thinks Halo is finally accepting them. Then the Stone of Oath starts making a noise like a car engine dying. The cracks start spreading. Halo's face goes from proud grandpa to absolute panic. The stone explodes. Mana flares everywhere, blinding the entire squad. Karen steps out of the wreckage, scratching his head. He looks at the shattered bits of the family's most sacred relic and says, "Oops, where'd it go?" Halo is staring at him like he just saw a ghost. The Stone of Oath, the thing that's been in the family for centuries, is now basically gravel. Everyone is frozen. Pale looks like he's about to have a heart attack. "Karen, what did you do?" Karen just waves. "Hi, grandfather. Look at this cool knife I found." Halo isn't looking at the broken stone anymore. He's looking at the sword. He recognizes it. Guillotine. The blade of the first Reston. It was erased from history. The elders are whispering. Why did it show up now? Halo looks at Karen with a terrifying level of intensity. The time of the covenant is coming. He asks if Karen is afraid of the sword. Karen gives the most stone-faced no in history. Halo smiles. This is the moment the hierarchy shifts. He tells the legend. The ancestors failed to fulfill their deal with the blue dragon. They left the stone as a placeholder for a future hero. The prophecy said someone would come along to finish the job. Halo asks, Karen, are you the one? He doesn't wait for an answer. He raises his hand. He officially declares Karen as a direct descendant worthy of the Spirit Sea style. The uncles Raphael and Tails are absolutely seething. To them, Karen is just a brat who got lucky. Pale rushes over to check for injuries, completely ignoring the fact that his son is now a walking nuke. Tails is staring at the sword, realizing he's never even heard of it in the archives. He feels a chill just looking at the mana coming off it. Raphael is whispering to himself, I don't care about the kid's talent. Succession isn't changing. Halo calls it. Ceremony is over. Everyone go home. The crowd disperses, but the tension is thick enough to cut with guillotine. Raphael pulls Tails aside. Are we really just going to watch this happen? Tails is more calculated. We'll talk privately. He asks Raphael if he even knows what that sword is. Raphael has no clue. He just knows it's a problem. He can't understand why the weak son's kid is the one with the legendary pull. Tails tells him to shut up. This isn't the time for infighting, but you can see it in their eyes. The peaceful trash life Karen wanted, it's officially dead. Pale has to leave. His business empire doesn't run itself. He asks if Karen is okay being left at the fortress alone. Pale is worried about internal threats. He knows his brothers. He knows they're snakes. Then the chief butler, Heinrich, steps up. He announces that Karen's training will be handled by Lady Sabina. Karen recognizes the name. Sabina, the White Wolf. Halo's sister. A master as skilled as the Grand Duke himself. Pale is relieved. Sabina always doted on him. Heinrich adds one more thing. A message from Halo. Halo is preparing a permanent residence for Pale in the fortress. Pale is literally crying. 45 years of being the disappointing son, and one act from Karen fixed it. He leaves with a smile, finally feeling like part of the family. Karen says goodbye, feeling a little bad about manipulating his dad's emotions, but hey, results are results. The train pulls out. Karen starts the long walk up to the training grounds. He's mentally preparing to meet his aunt-grandmother. Heinrich gives him a pro tip. Lady Sabina hates being called grandmother more than anything in the world. Avoid that term if you want to keep your head. Karen is like, got it, no boomer jokes. Noted. They reach the cultivation chamber deep in the forest. This place is restricted, direct descendants only. And then the bad news. Leo is there too. Beat Karen's face goes into mischief mode. He loves a rematch. He runs toward the building. Heinrich watches him go, thinking about how lively the place is about to get. Poor Leo has no idea what's coming. Karen reaches the doors and feels the mana. It's heavy. Even from outside, it feels like a mountain. A voice calls out, "Why are you standing there? Get in here." Karen opens the door and gives the polite greeting, and then he freezes. He was expecting an old lady in a rocking chair. Instead, he sees a woman who looks like she's in her 20s sitting on a throne like a boss. She calls him Darling Pale's son. Karen's internal monologue is screaming. She reconstructed her body with magic? He realizes exactly what he's looking at. An 8-star knight. All right, our guy is officially in the training room. Sabina is sitting there like she owns the place, while Leo is just existing. Karen sits down, and you can already tell he's planning to be the teacher's pet just to make Leo's life miserable. Sabina is curious how a 10-year-old even knows her old title, the White Wolf. He hits her with the "I read it in a book" line. Classic. He then asks what grandfather Halo thinks about him. Turns out, Halo thinks he's a kid she'll actually like. The Grand Duke described him as someone who has to navigate the vast ocean. And Sabina? She's supposed to be his lighthouse. She starts sensing his mana, and the potential is actually making her nervous. Most kids have potential like a puddle. This kid is a whole tsunami. She realizes that one day he won't just be navigating the sea, he's going to rule it. They settle into the training mats, and it's time for the basics. Sabina is genuinely hyped for the first time in years. She explains that sitting cross-legged is the foundation for mana training, but once you're a pro, you can do it standing up. She decides to flex, releasing an aura that probably has the local birds dropping out of the sky. The shockwave is so heavy that the kids look like they're in a wind tunnel. This is the sea domination technique, creating literal oceans of mana inside your body. She drops the lore. 8 oceans make you an 8-star knight, like her. But 9 oceans? That's 9-star territory. Only one person in the Empire has reached that, Halo Reston. Karen's eyes go sharp. He's not thinking about the 9-star level, he's thinking about how fast he can surpass it. Sabina sees that look. That's not cute kid energy, that's final boss energy. She realizes this isn't going to be a normal 3 years. First step, let the mana flow through the passages. She tells them to accept the power of the sea, not fight it. Karen starts visualizing the waves. He starts the process from the heart, mapping out his body. Sabina is watching, and she freezes. The amount of mana this kid is outputting right after his ritual is actually illegal. Leo has been at this for 2 years and he's still on the tutorial level, but Karen is carving out his mana passages on his own, without even being shown how. Low down, Karen feels the burn. It feels like his body is being shredded from the inside. But then, he just stops. Sabina is stunned. Most kids would keep pushing until they blew a lung out. Leo, for example, is currently blowing a lung out. He collapses, and Sabina has to rush over to save him from his own stupidity. She realizes she was so focused on Karen's greatness that she forgot Leo is just a normal human child. Karen looks at his cousin and literally total disrespect. Sabina is impressed. The kid accurately grasped his own limit. He has the composure of a veteran soldier at age 10. She realizes he doesn't need a lighthouse. He's already navigating. She calls him over for a heart-to-heart. She gives him a 3-year guarantee. For 3 years, she will keep him safe. After that, he's on his own. Now we're in the yard, and the steel is clashing. The knights are training like their lives depend on it. A man with orange-tinted eyes is watching them. Leo is still complaining about Karen carrying the menacing guillotine sword. Karen is like, "Bro, I put a scabbard on it, what more do you want?" They are introduced to the knight commander, Xeris Winterguard. Karen can tell at a glance this guy is a legit 8-star master. Xeris doesn't care about titles. He tells Karen he won't be calling him young master until he earns it. Karen loves this. It's way more comfortable for a former soldier. Xeris is surprised. Usually, noble brats start throwing a tantrum when you don't glaze them. He looks at Leo, who is clearly part of the noble brat category. Xeris starts to think that maybe, just maybe, a proper successor has finally arrived. Meanwhile, Karen is mentally planning his world domination. Xeris feels a chill. He realizes someone even worse than Leo has arrived. He calls Karen a bigger scoundrel than Leo. 3 years later, Azure Sea Fortress. Sabina is casually drinking the Grand Duke's expensive liquor. Some things never change. She claims it's her fee for babysitting his grandnephew. Halo is reminiscing. 3 years went by in a blink. He asks for her honest impression of Karen. She doesn't even hesitate. The boy is a monster. She says calling him a genius is actually an insult. She asks Xeris for his opinion. Xeris agrees. He lists it off. Physicals, talent, attitude, guts, all maxed out. He even compares him to Hugo, the supposedly best genius in the Empire, and Karen is better. Sabina points out that this is actually a problem. When the Reston sons realize how much of a threat Karen is to the succession, things are going to get messy. Halo pours another drink. He knows his sons could become a threat to their own nephew. Succession wars in this family are basically a tradition. The tension in the room is thick. Sabina changes the subject. The Stone of Oath is broken, and the magical beasts in the north are acting up. Halo tells her to stop being dramatic. He drops a prophecy. The one who broke the stone will raise a new one. The time of the covenant is imminent. Sabina realizes that Karen is about to have the weight of the world on his shoulders. Halo isn't going to tell him yet. He's waiting for the right moment. Back at the Reston estate, Pale is reading a letter from his son. Karen is writing like a perfect angel, talking about training and getting along with Leo. And then the kicker. He asks for more money. Pale is laughing. He thinks his son is just a normal, hard-working kid. Heinrich tells him that the fortress is never quiet because of Karen. Pale is worried. He's told Karen many times that standing out is dangerous, but a jewel shines even when it's still. Heinrich warns him that information about Karen is starting to spread outside the fortress. He's likely going to be assigned a real mission soon. Pale is stressed. He knows the older brothers will be looking for any excuse to remove the competition. Heinrich tells him there is one silver lining. Sabina is extremely fond of Karen. Pale is relieved. He remembers that Sabina was always fond of him too. He realizes the allowance he's been sending her every month was a great investment, but Sabina is scheduled to leave the fortress soon. Pale starts panicking again. Heinrich mentions that Karen has a nickname among the knights. Pale has heard it too. The young mad dog of Azure Sea Fortress. We see Karen in a sparring match. He's 13 now and he looks dangerous. He's bullying a knight named Hans. He breaks Hans' sword like it's a toothpick. He tells Hans that meeting strength with strength is the only way to win. Hans is an adult, a trained soldier, and he's currently being roasted by a middle schooler. Karen tells him he has balloon muscles. Absolute savagery. Hans admits that facing Karen without using magic is becoming impossible. Karen asks about the mission rumors. Hans confirms that Xeris will be deciding the deployment time. They might be heading to the granary region to hunt beasts. Leo is in the background, seething. He doesn't want to be on the same mission as the mad dog. He thinks he can use the mission to please his parents. He's still living in a different reality. Back to Pale. He didn't just bring Heinrich here for the letter. He pulls out a mysterious bag. It was found in a merchant's wagon coming from the barony of Bellis. Heinrich looks inside and his face goes pale. It's cocaine, a narcotic. Pale wants an investigation. This is a threat to the Reston economy. Heinrich realizes the stakes just got raised. Ending Hook Night falls on the fortress. A train pulls in, and a set of boots steps onto the platform. A man looks up at the fortress. Azure Sea Fortress at night. Usually quiet, unless you count the sound of the guards doing their rounds. But someone is sneaking through the shadows. It's our guy. Karen is currently looting Xeris's private liquor collection. He's 13 now, but inside he's still a 50-year-old soldier who hasn't had a good drink in 3 years. He spots some strangers at the gate. New faces. The Knight Commander is acting as the Duke's proxy, but these guys look like they can't wait. Karen decides to stop being a ninja and just walks up. This is Baron Rohan Bellis. He's looking for help, but he's confused why a kid is holding a bottle of expensive whiskey. He's heard the rumors. The young Duke who awakened early. Karen tells him he'll hear him out. The guards are like, "Bro, should we get an adult?" Karen hits them with the logic. If the Baron came in person, it's a noble's duty to receive him. Rohan is already starting to realize this kid is not an NPC. The bottle of liquor still bothers him, but the kid's political instincts are sharper than his sword. He's wondering if the whole Reston family is just built different, or if they just let the kids drink for fun. They head inside to talk business. The summary is simple. Bandits in the Eastern Mountains, but it's worse than that. Drugs, kidnapping, and human trafficking. The Bellis territory is poor, and they don't have a real military to fight back. Rohan's father tried to lead a squad against them and got bedridden for his effort. Karen slams the bottle down. His eyes go cold. People spreading drugs and selling slaves? In his book, those people deserve to be ripped apart. He starts analyzing the situation. Bandits shouldn't be able to stand up to a regular army. Rohan suspects they're actually deserting soldiers from the Southern Kingdom's war. Karen puts the pieces together. The Imperial Army is focused on the south, leaving the north wide open. He pours a glass and offers a light drink to Rohan to calm his nerves. He mentions that the Bellis barony borders his father's territory. "This isn't something I can overlook," he says. He wants to go personally. Rohan is about to drink when Karen casually mentions he swiped the booze from Xeris. Speak of the devil. Xeris bursts in, and he is not happy about his liquor cabinet being raided again. Rohan starts apologizing like a scared NPC while Karen just sits there, unfazed. Xeris ignores the booze for a second to acknowledge the bandit problem. Rohan explains he came to beg the Blue Wolves for help. Xeris tries to take the bottle back, but Karen is holding onto it like his life depends on it. Xeris apologizes for the unsightly scene. He promises that Cheonghae Castle will not sit idle. They'll organize troops to dispatch to the barony soon. Karen chimes in, "Let me go." Rohan is staring at him thinking, is this middle schooler serious? Xeris admits Karen is a 4-star now, but real battle isn't a sparring match. Karen tells him overprotection is a bad look. Xeris is firm. He's not risking the Duke's grandsons against unknown enemies. Karen leans in. "What if I make you an offer you can't refuse?" Xeris is listening. Task transition to the train station. Leo is there, looking like he's about to throw up. Xeris looks like he's just realized he's been played by a 13-year-old. And then the wild card appears. Sabina is coming too. She's nostalgic, remembers her own first mission. Xeris is only letting them go because Sabina is the chaperone. Rohan can't believe it. The legendary White Empress is actually coming. But he's still worried. If the Duke's grandsons get hurt, his house is cooked. Xeris tells him to relax. With Sabina there, nothing is going to happen to them. Except Sabina drops the bomb unless the kids are literally about to die. She's not helping. Xeris is shocked, but Sabina has her reasons. She needs them to grow, and you don't grow if Auntie is doing all the work. Xeris sighs. He knows once Sabina makes up her mind, it's a wrap. The train whistle blows. Time's up. Leo is sweating. He's not ready for this. Sabina notices. She tells him it's natural to be nervous. This is his chance to prove he's a real blue wolf. Leo looks at Karen, who is already 100% focused. Karen asks him if he always needs someone to push him from behind. Leo realizes it. The time has come to prove himself. The train leaves the station. The train is cutting through the snowy mountains. Sabina explains the confidential part of the mission. If the bandits know the White Empress is there, they'll run away before the fight starts. Rohan is watching the two kids. Karen is currently taking a nap. He can't believe how chill Karen is compared to Leo, who is vibrating with anxiety. We see Leo a few weeks ago. His mother is laying into him. She's peak toxic. She's demanding to know why he's friendly with the kid who disgraced their family. She calls him a man with no drive. Leo tries to explain. Karen and he aren't rivals. Hugo was a genius, but he didn't hit 3-star until 14. Karen hit 4-star at 13. Leo is being a realist. You can't be rivals with someone who is playing on a different server. His mom thinks he's just making excuses for an inferiority complex, but Leo sees it differently. Karen isn't an obstacle, he's the goal that makes Leo work harder. Return to present. Leo's eyes are full of resolve. He knows he's staring at a monster, but he's not looking away anymore. Sabina snaps him out of his thoughts. She asks if he can actually bring himself to kill someone. She warns him, this isn't training. She says Karen is the type who would sell you out to save his own skin, but she tells Leo not to doubt himself. She was the one who trained him. She knows what he's capable of. Leo's ego gets a much-needed boost. Yes, master. 20 minutes to arrival. Sabina gets up. She's moving out early because she can't be seen at the station. Karen points out the train is still moving at full speed. Sabina doesn't care. She tells them she'll be watching from the shadows. She just steps out of the window. Rohan is screaming. Karen is just laughing. Why is everyone in house resting like this? Rohan is having a mental breakdown. Missions start. The train arrives. They meet Rohan's father, the bedridden Baron. The old man is coughing his lungs up but still tries to show respect. He remembers Karen from 10 years ago. Karen plays the polite noble kid role perfectly. He asks to be called young Lord Karen to put the old man at ease. Then he subtly disses Leo by mentioning he's only a 3-star. The Baron is worried about sending 2 promising young men on a suicide mission, but Karen shuts it down. If we fail, it disgraces the honor of the Blue Wolves. He's got Leo fired up too. We won't fail! The old Baron entrusts everything to them. A guide is waiting outside. They head into the snowy forest. The guide, Sven, is leading the way. Leo is already breathing hard. The cold is no joke. Karen pulls Leo back. He asks, can we really trust this guy? Karen has a smirk. He's noticed something Leo hasn't. He tells Leo that Sven is almost certainly part of the bandit crew. Back at the station, Rohan asked how they'd find the hideout. Karen told him they'd use a traitor from within the domain. Leo is stunned. Why didn't you tell me? Because you were too nervous, young. Karen explains the strategy. The bandits are desperate. They need a big win, and 2 noble heirs are the perfect bait. Karen feels the mana in the air. They're about to be reeled in. The bandits surround them. A big guy with a red scarf steps forward. Sven the guide walks over to the boss. He's looking for his payout. The bandits are laughing, calling them noble brats. Karen's eyes light up with blue mana. He's not scared. He's offended. To dare spread narcotics in my father's domain? We open at the Bellis Barony. The local baron is currently losing a 1v1 with a cough. His son hands him some water, but the old man looks like he's one bad breeze away from the afterlife. The son asks if the 2 kids from the Reston family will be okay. The baron isn't worried. He thinks the duke wouldn't send them if they weren't ready. He says Karen reminds him of a young Halo, confident, relaxed, and potentially terrifying. He tells his son to have high expectations. Meanwhile, expectations are currently being exceeded in the most violent way possible. Karen is moving like a glitch in the Matrix. Bodies are dropping before they even realize the fight started. The bandits are realizing they didn't ambush a kid, they walked into a blender. Our traitor guide gets a front row seat to the carnage. His partner tells him they need to bounce and alert the main unit immediately. The leader of this small squad decides he's not getting clapped by a brat who smells like milk. He charges. Bad move. He brings the axe down with everything he's got, but Karen doesn't even look stressed. His only complaint? The guy is being too loud. One clean flash of blue mana, and the squad leader is finished. Leo is just standing there with his sword drawn, processing the fact that his cousin just turned a forest into a morgue. He looks at Karen's blade. The pressure coming off it makes him feel like his own throat is on the line. Urha sees his boss's head hit the snow and decides he is suddenly a huge fan of surrendering. Karen gives him a terrifyingly polite smile and asks for his name. Urha? Perfect. Do you have a rope? Urha is confused, but when a monster asks for rope, you find rope. Karen's plan is unique. He ties his and Leo's hands together. Then he makes Urha carry their weapons. He explains that to find the base, they need to look like actual hostages, because no one is going to believe a guy like Urha captured them if they're walking around fully armed. On the walk over, Karen starts the interrogation. He correctly guesses that these guys are deserters from the Southern War. He asks how big the group is. Urha spills everything, 130 men including 2 knight escorts and a mage. Karen's internal radar pings. 130 deserters with a mage in a broke territory like Bellis? The life of leisure the commander promised them doesn't make sense. There's no money here. Something is definitely off. They reach the stronghold. Karen is ready to see the truth with his own eyes. The guards on the tower spot them. They start roasting Urha for only bringing back 2 kids. They ask why he's carrying the weapons. Urha sticks to the script, claiming these are noble brats and they're his personal kill. The gates open. The bandits think they're about to get a bonus from the boss. They're complaining about how long it took to get hostages. Urha tells them to shut up. He's the only one who knows he's walking a nuke into the house. Karen notices Urha is being surprisingly soft. Then the atmosphere shifts. The air gets heavy, spooky. Guillotine starts reacting to something nearby. They see a crow pinned to a post. And under it, a massive, glowing magic circle. The red energy is bleeding into the sky. Karen calls it out instantly. Black magic. The ritual is already active. Karen drops the act and tells Urha to cut the ropes and hand over the swords. He tells Leo to draw his sword, Sylphid. Things are about to get weird. Skeletons start clawing their way out of the ground. Urha is losing his mind. They're surrounded by an undead army in the middle of a bandit camp. The bandit leader, Michael Knox, steps out on the balcony. He thinks he's won. He welcomes the precious noble brats to his stronghold. He's looking down on them, literally and figuratively. Karen is scanning for the wizard. He knows the mage is the one pulling the strings. Then, Karen does something that confuses everyone. He grabs Urha and puts a sword to his throat. Leo is staring at him like, "Bro, we are the good guys, what are you doing?" Michael Knox is actually offended. He asks where the noble honor went. Karen just deadpans, "What? Can't we take hostages too?" Michael laughs it off. He tells Karen that a hostage without value is meaningless. He calls Urha worthless and tells Karen to go ahead and kill him. The skeleton behind Urha prepares to swing. Leo is panicked. They're outnumbered and the boss doesn't care about his own men. But Karen has that look in his eyes, the mad dog look. Michael spots the blue mana and finally realizes these aren't just random kids. Karen tells Leo to handle the skeletons. He's taking the commander. Karen launches himself toward the balcony. He's a blur of blue energy. Leo is left behind to fight a literal horde of bones. He's wondering how he's supposed to survive this alone. Michael orders his archers to fire, but Karen is already in his face. Harang Sword Style 3, Sea Wave. The impact obliterates the balcony. Michael barely blocks it, calling Karen a nuisance. Karen's follow-up is relentless. Michael hits the ground, gasping for air. Karen stands over him and tells him he should have attacked faster. Michael is baffled. Why is the Azure Sea Fortress wasting resources on a tiny barony? Karen's reason is simple. This place is right next to my dad's house. You're bad for property values. He looks down and sees Leo is actually holding his own against the skeletons. Karen gives him a not bad and tells him to keep crushing them. He turns back to Michael and asks for his name. Michael Knox. Karen pins Michael's leg to the floor with a sword. With a terrifying grin, he tells Michael to order his men to disarm. Michael screams for them to dump their weapons. He's realized the kid is a psycho. He's bitter about losing to brats, but he hints that someone else is coming that even the Restons can't stop. Karen asks if he's talking about the Black Wizards. Below them, Leo finishes off the last skeleton. The magic circle vanishes. Then, a massive explosion rocks the gate. Karen sighs. Great. Because of you, we wasted time and the wizard got away. Wait, not quite. Aunt Sabina walks through the smoke carrying the wizard's severed head by the hair. She's annoyed. She calls the mission a failure because they missed crucial evidence. Karen kicks Michael down the stairs. Sabina admits she liked the method though. Charging straight into the enemy's jaws is very Reston, but she docks him points for the hostage stunt. Karen defends it. Nobody expects a noble to take hostages. It's the ultimate sneak attack. Sabina laughs and calls him a lunatic. Karen just says thank you. They head back to Lord Bellis's castle to get some real answers. Michael Knox is left in the dirt, traumatized. The mission is over, and the prisoners are finally being let out of the cages. Standard dad, I was so scared reunion vibes everywhere. Honestly, it's a wholesome moment for everyone except the bandits, and our guy Urha. Karen asks if he's feeling guilty now that he sees the families he helped kidnap. Urha is sweating bullets. Karen reminds him that his friends are currently being thrown into the Baron's dungeon. The bandit leader is tied up like a holiday roast, but Sabina notices Karen didn't tie Urha up. Karen's logic? The boss is too beat up to walk, so Urha is officially the designated forklift. He tells Urha not to get any ideas, and Urha looks like he's forgotten how to even think for himself. One of the rescued villagers asks if Urha is going to be punished too. Karen says yes, he's still technically a bandit, but the villager speaks up. Turns out Urha was the secretly nice bandit. Medicine for the sick, food for the starving, basically the only one with a soul in that camp. Karen decides to consider leniency. Urha immediately pledges his soul to the young master. This man found the one get-out-of-jail-free card in the deck, and he's holding it for dear life. Then Leo calls out from the balcony. He's found something. Deep in the storage area among the barrels is a glow that usually means rare loot found. Karen looks inside and sees it. Magic stones. The villagers are cheering because the bad guys are gone, and Leo is dreaming about a celebratory banquet. But Karen isn't listening. He's doing the math. 130 bandits didn't settle in a remote, insignificant village for the scenery. Look at those eyes. That is the face of a 13-year-old realizing he just found a literal gold mine. Leo sees that grin and knows another mad dog scheme is loading. The young Baron Bellis comes out to greet them at the gate. He tries to handle the logistics, locking up the prisoners. Karen lets him know they're taking the leader back to Azure Sea Fortress for questioning. The young Baron tries to talk to Sabina about a request, but she deflects it to her students. Young Baron offers a banquet, but Karen shuts it down. Let's talk business now. The Baron's son admits they're broke. They can't pay the commission fee to the Reston family. He wants a deferral. Karen's eyes light up. This is exactly what he wanted. He starts wondering out loud why bandits would choose a remote village with no specialties. He calls the place a remote village to the Baron's face. Total emotional damage. Then he pulls out the magic stone. The Baron's son is stunned. He had no idea his own dirt was full of glowing blue rocks. Karen drops the proposal. Let's co-develop the mine with Azure Sea Fortress. The young Baron is having a mental breakdown trying to process this. He realizes that having the Reston family as a business partner is basically a God-mode cheat for security. He's wondering who gave a 13-year-old the authority to negotiate a multi-million-dollar resource deal. Karen sells him on the dream. Stationing Reston Knights here fixes the defense and the economy in one move. The Baron's son asks what percentage the Duke's house wants. Karen hit him with the "oh, I'm just a kid, talk to my dad about the boring details." He just secured a future income stream and a strategic foothold while acting like he was doing them a favor. Even Sabina is impressed. The trash of the family is out negotiating veteran politicians. Back at the station, the train is ready. Leo pulls Karen aside. He's confused. Why did Sabina say things might get complicated at the hideout? Sabina holds up the bag with the mage's head. This wasn't just a random hobo with a staff. Ted Delaharta, 6th Circle Dark Mage. Class 2 wanted criminal. A high-level fugitive working with army deserters? She calls the mission a failure because the boys missed the important target and wasted time on small fry. She tells Karen to remember, true growth only comes from fighting the actual threats. Leo is feeling left out of the lecture, but then Sabina turns to him. She actually praises him. First time facing undead and he didn't die? She tells him to have more confidence. Leo looks like his soul just ascended. Back at the Azure Sea Fortress, the Lord has returned. Halo hears that his grandson is on his way back with Sabina. Suddenly, a messenger comes sprinting in. Letter from the Imperial Palace. The Emperor usually doesn't have much to say to the Reston family. Halo reads it, and his face goes pale. The Mad Dog just got invited to the most dangerous pit in the Empire. Karen sits on the train holding guillotine, staring into the dark. The train rolls into the station. Urha is still carrying the bandit boss. He's amazed by the size of the castle. The bandit leader tries to whisper an escape plan to him. Urha hits him with a "shut up!" He's not risking his life for a guy who called him useless 5 minutes ago. Sabina tells them to keep moving. Pale, Karen's dad, is there to meet them. He looks pleased despite hearing about the headache Karen caused in Bellis. Leo bows to his uncle. Pale mentions that word of Leo's exploits has already reached the fortress. Leo is sweating because he knows his dad is going to be delighted, and by delighted he means terrifyingly expectant. They start heading up. Pale mentions the Empire's situation is unstable. Powerful families are uniting under Duke Salmon and Marquis Diaz. These are the guys who put the current emperor on the throne after the tyrant fell. They hold the real power now. The age of peace is officially over. Sabina points out that the Bellis Barony incident gives them a pretext to station troops. She looks at Karen. This kid's mess turned out to be the perfect political opening. Pale laughs it off, but Sabina's stare says she knows Karen planned the outcome. Xerus, the night captain, meets them to take the prisoners. He's heard the exploits. He's going to extract information from the bandit leader. Then he looks at Urha. Who's the bald guy? He's a bandit too, just take him. But he adds that Urha is an informant and he wants to keep him as a personal servant. Karen tries to head inside to sleep, but Xerus stops him. Mission isn't over until the report is filed. Leo tries to ask if they can write it together. Karen points at Leo. Great! Since I did the hard work, you handle the paperwork. He gaslights Leo into thinking this is a chance to earn favor with his uncle. Highlight your achievements, leave my name out of it. Karen's actually doing this so he can stay off the radar, but Leo buys it completely. Sabina tosses the bag at Xerus. Here's a wanted man's head, handle it. She tells the boys to put the mission under their names. Karen leaves Leo with the bag and the paperwork. Instead of sleeping, he heads to the Aether training hall. Xerus watches him go. A 13-year-old coming back from a bloodbath and immediately heading to the gym is not normal behavior. Karen is walking with a purpose. In the Grand Duke's office, Halo has summoned everyone late at night. He calls for Heinrich, the butler. Heinrich brings a box. Inside is a piece of hide from a monster killed in the Western Plains. It looks normal, but it's leaking a familiar dark energy. Halo drops the bombshell. It's the Tyrant Emperor's black aether. Either Kane's will is lingering in the world, or Kane is still alive. Halo mentions that the Emperor has heard about the Bellis barony. He's officially summoned Karen to the capital. Halo can't send him alone, so he's sending Leo and the Seawave Knights as an escort. Pale is worried. If Karen refuses, Halo won't force him. But Halo's eyes are fixed on the report. Bring Karen here. I need to know why he made that deal with the Bellis mine. Karen is currently deep in his own world, surrounded by a whirlwind of blue mana. Karen is in the lab, deep in a mana meditation that looks like it belongs in a late-game raid. Xerus walks in and asks how long he's been at it. Karen keeps it casual, but Xerus notes that this laboratory is usually off-limits to everyone except direct family. Karen asks if it's urgent, and the look on Xerus's face says it's final boss levels of urgent. The Knight Captain drops the news. Soon, you'll likely have to go to the capital. Karen's internal reaction is probably just, there goes my weekend. He's been summoned to the family council immediately. The doors to the grand hall swing open, and the atmosphere is heavy enough to crush a side character. The entire family council is waiting. Uncles, aunts, and the Grand Duke himself. Karen gives the standard yes, grandfather respect, but Halo's eyes are glowing with that I know what you did energy. Halo starts the interrogation. He calls out Karen for acting independently in the Bellis negotiations. He asks Karen if he realized his arrogant behavior was a courtesy violation. Karen doesn't blink. He explains that the baronet accepted the proposal of his own will, and then he drops a line that stops the room cold. He judged something to be far more important than noble etiquette. Halo leans in. And what could be more important than courtesy? The honor of the family. Halo is floored. Karen could have boasted about his own achievement to get a promotion, but instead, he claims he stepped back to let the family take the credit. Halo calls it excellent tact. The uncles in the back are just watching this 13-year-old run circles around their patriarch. Halo officially greenlights the deal. He decides to let Pale handle the actual negotiations. Pale looks like he just won the lottery, but he knows this is all because of his son's work. Then Halo shifts to the real problem, the Emperor's letter. Word of the young wolf has already reached the capital. Karen's internal monologue is working overtime. He knows the Emperor is a puppet. If a letter arrived this fast, it means the noble faction's intelligence network is insane. He realizes he's already being scouted by the sharks in the capital. Halo gives him an out. If you don't wish to go, you don't have to. He warns him that the noble houses will want to confirm who Karen really is. They're going to try to poke the bear to see if it bites. Pale is watching his father give Karen a choice. Usually a summon from the Emperor isn't optional. Halo is breaking the rules just for him. But Karen is a main character. Of course he says yes. He even makes sure Leo is coming along for the ride. Halo agrees, but then Karen asks if they really need an escort if his maternal grandfather is there. Wait, did he just try to skip out on security? Halo snaps. Don't flatter yourself. He tells Karen the escort isn't to protect him, it's to make sure Karen doesn't cause any more trouble. Council adjourned. 3 days until the capital trip. Pale is at the table with the Bellis heir. He asks if the Baron is really okay with these terms. The terms are nuts. 80% Reston, 20% Bellis. But then there's the kicker. 5% of that 20% goes directly to Karen and Leo. The Bellis heir says it's not a fee, it's an investment. He's a top academy graduate. He's not stupid. He's buying favor with the two young wolves. He knows these kids are the future of the Azure Sea Fortress. Pale finds it shameless, but he can't deny the logic. The deal is signed. Pale departs at daybreak. Then we see Karen's negotiation with Leo. Leo is so happy to be part of the deal. They walk back to the station. Leo asks how they're splitting their personal shares. Karen says, naturally, I take 9 and you take 1. The ratio is actually disrespectful. Karen gives him that glowing blue-eye glare and asks if he wants to reconsider. Leo immediately folds. Okay, fine. 9 it is. In the background, Pale and Heinrich are watching them. They think the boys have become inseparable friends. Meanwhile, Karen is literally shaking Leo down for his lunch money. 3 days later, the night before they leave. Leo is panicking in his room about meeting the Emperor. Karen is just sitting there reading, completely unbothered. Leo starts talking about the beauties in the capital. Kid is down bad. Suddenly, Aunt Sabina appears on the balcony with a bottle of wine. She decides a water cup is fine because wine is wine. She asks Leo if he's ever had a drink. Turns out Karen has already made him an accomplice in stealing wine from the cellar. Sabina pours the rounds, no hesitation. She praises both of them for growing splendidly over the last 3 years. She mentions her promise to their elder brother is fulfilled. She admits it's a bit disappointing she won't be there to see the havoc they cause in the capital. Leo gets emotional. He's heard she's heading back to the North Sea. Sabina teases him for being sentimental. Then she gives him one piece of advice. Don't go to parties with Karen. She explains that with Karen's looks and talent, any girl Leo talks to will just spend the whole time asking about his cousin. Leo is devastated. Karen is catching strays for being too handsome. They spend the night drinking. One final celebration before the storm. Elsewhere, Grand Duke Halo is also having a late-night drink alone. Pale walks in. Halo acknowledges the Bellis negotiations were a massive success. He brings up the investment the young Baron made in the boys. He admits the Bellis family has a clever son. Having a reliable ally is never bad. He officially entrusts all future Bellis matters to Pale. This is a huge promotion. Halo pours his son a drink. Pale knows his father doesn't do praise often. There's something more. Halo mentions the Emperor has never summoned anyone but him directly. Summoning a 13-year-old grandson is a massive political signal. He mentions seeing the Emperor's fearful gaze during their last private meeting. The Emperor is afraid Halo will overthrow him the same way he overthrew the tyrant. Pale realizes this isn't a friendly invite, it's a hostage situation, or a trap. He asks why Halo didn't just refuse the request. Halo's answer is chilling. Correct. I didn't. He laughs a bit, but it's the laugh of a man who's planning a war. I want to know the measure of Karen. Karen was chosen by the ancestor's sword, guillotine. He is the destiny of the family. If he's going to shoulder the future, he has to be able to endure the capital's vipers. Pale asks if he's worried. Halo downs his drink. Pale is struggling with his own glass. He's not a drinker like the rest of the wolves. Halo looks at his youngest son. I trust my son. Pale is stunned. Trust your son. A fine answer indeed. Daylight hits. Sabina is already mounted on her horse. Xeris asks if she's going to say goodbye to the boys. Sabina smirks. No, I shared drinks with them last night. That's enough. She says it's better to leave quietly while they're busy prepping for the capital. She tells Xeris to keep the wine stocked. She looks up at the balcony. Karen is there, watching. A silent nod between master and student, and just like that, the White Empress is gone, heading back to the cold north. Karen watches her ride off. He thinks about the North Sea, a place he used to call home. He's left with only a letter and a sense that the training wheels are officially off. With Sabina gone, the balance in the castle has shifted. Karen, your aunt has left as well. Karen turns around. Tails Reston is standing right behind him, the eldest brother. The day is finally here. The station is packed, the luggage is loaded, and Karen and Leo are suited up in formal wear. Xeris reminds them that they're representatives of the family now, which is probably why they sent Hans's entire squad as an escort. Hans jokes that they're really just there to make sure Karen doesn't commit any war crimes on the way. Karen is already annoyed. Too many nuisances for a simple train ride. Before leaving, Karen had a little private morning chat with Uncle Tails. Standard good morning, Uncle, but Tails gets right to the point. He tells Karen not to act the way he did at the fortress while he's in the capital. Karen realizes right then that Tails has been a fly on the wall this whole time. Tails warns him that the capital is full of enemies waiting for an excuse to tear the Restons apart. And if Karen gives them that excuse, Tails promises to punish him harshly himself. Karen hits him with the fake nice smile, thanking him for the wise words. Tails walks away thinking he's successfully intimidated a child. But he's not dealing with a child. Karen humor beat Karen's inner Cain is laughing. Harsh punishment? The blue eyes come out. He's already planning how to make Tails' arrogant face twist in pain. First on the to-do list for the capital, dismantle the eldest uncle. Back to reality, preparations are complete. Karen tells Hans that if he causes trouble, Karen won't let it slide. Then, Uraha shows up, looking like he's ready for his first day of school. He thanks the young master for the second chance. Karen immediately breaks his heart by telling him he's only bringing him to throw him in a capital prison. Uraha is panicking, while Hans is just confused why we're bringing a bald bandit to a diplomatic meeting. Commander Xeris tells them to head out. He begs them not to cause trouble. He knows anyone seeing this group is going to think they're a squad of delinquents. Trains leaving. All aboard the express to the Viper's Nest. Wait, someone's sprinting down the platform. It's Pale. The dad of the year actually made it for the send-off. He's out of breath, looking like he just ran a marathon in noble shoes. He says the Grand Duke called him here, but mostly he just wanted to see his son one last time. He mentions that Karen's grandfather on his mother's side is waiting for them in the capital. Pale's got that "I'm so proud but also please don't die" look. He puts a hand on Karen's shoulder. Please return safely. Leo is in the background laughing, probably because the mad dog is being treated like a precious baby. Back at the castle, Tails is back to his books. He's confirmed they left. His spy reports that the second prince's wife is plotting something in the capital. Tails doesn't care. He's playing the long game. Heat up on the train, Karen asks Hans how long until they arrive. 6 hours. They're passing through the Thebes autonomous territory, a city where money is the only thing that matters. It's the Vegas of the empire. Commerce, industry, and zero noble etiquette. Hans explains that the lords of other regions usually hate the place because it's too independent. But they're friendly with the Restons. They even hire the family's knights for high-paying security jobs. Leo is already planning a sneak-away visit to the city. Karen is down for it, but then the mood shifts. Guillotine starts vibrating. It's sensing something. If the sword is reacting, it means danger is within range. Karen thinks it might be an assassin planted by his uncles, but he realizes even Tails isn't dumb enough to attack a Reston train. He orders Hans to contact the Thebes territory immediately. No time to explain. "Prepare for attack!" The knights scramble. Karen's brain is racing. If the threat is outside, how do you attack a moving train? Outside, a hooded figure is standing on the tracks. It begins. It's a literal mountain of explosive barrels piled on the rail. The train is coming in hot. They light the fuse. Karen screams for everyone to brace. The impact is massive. The screen goes white. The explosion tears through the valley, scattering birds and metal everywhere. Cut to the Thebes autonomous region. The city council is currently having a midlife crisis over taxes and money laundering. A bunch of rich guys are pointing fingers at each other like a high-stakes Among Us lobby. The mayor is sitting there wishing he'd just stayed retired as the Minister of Finance. He's listening to nobles and commoners bicker about equal opportunity versus aristocrat rights. Basically, the city is a chaotic mess of merchant groups clashing. The mayor's head hurts just looking at them. Suddenly, a messenger bursts in, looking like he's seen a ghost. The mayor listens to the whisper and immediately tells everyone to clear the room. They ask if it's about the tax audit. The mayor lights a cigarette. The tax audit can go to hell. He drops the news. 5 minutes ago, the Reston family train exploded. The council goes silent. If the Reston grandkids died in their territory, Thebes is officially off the map. Halo will burn the city to the ground. Return to the room. Karen is crawling out of the smoke. He looks like he's just finished a 1v5 in League and lost. Hans checks on him. Karen's fine, just a scratch. Situation report, 11 personnel, 1 seriously injured, 2 casualties in the other car. The fact that Urha is the one reporting casualty counts means things are beyond bad. They're 10 kilometers away from Thebes. Hans already called for backup before they even woke up, but he tells the kids to run as far away as possible while his squad buys time. Guillotine starts humming again. The attackers are here. Karen draws his sword. "Sorry, Hans, we can't do that. These guys just destroyed an imperial railway. That's treason. Leo's leg is hurt, so they aren't running anywhere." Karen kicks a window out and drops a hooded assassin before the guy can even finish his entrance. Look at that grin. He's not trapped with them. They're trapped with him. The leader of the assassins orders his men to kill them all. They swarm the wreckage. The leader looks like your standard rank 6 edgy ninja boss. Karen realizes there are way more of them than he thought. Hans orders the second squad to dismount and protect the young masters. Reston knights versus mysterious mercenary ninjas. Karen notes that these guys are all rank 3 or higher. The one in the front, a rank 6. The leader uses a voice-distorting spell. He tells Karen to surrender. Karen's response, "Come at me all at once, you bastards!" He's taunting them like a high-level player in a low-level zone. The mercenaries realize this isn't a normal child. The rank 6 leader tells his men to move aside. He'll handle Karen personally. Karen smirks. Finally, the leader steps up. He prepares to engage, but Hans steps in the way. "He's a dangerous opponent. Step back, young master." The rank 6 boss laughs. "You're just hurrying your death, Knight of the Sea Wolf." Hans goes in for the high strike, but the assassin moves like he's made of smoke. Steel meets steel, and the shock is enough to make Hans's teeth rattle. The assassin isn't just fast, he's playing with his food. Hans realizes it immediately. His best strike was swatted away like a fly. He recognizes the footwork. This isn't some low-level mercenary. This is Shion Hakimi, a 6-star knight from the Pavar Sultanate, a guy whose presence here is basically an international declaration of war. Hans is having a midlife crisis. The rest of the battlefield is actually going okay. Leo and the Reston knights are cleaning up the trash, but the boss fight is the problem. Shion pushes Hans back, mocking him for even trying. He leaps back, creating distance, and tells the knights they've already lost. The arrogance is off the charts. Then he looks at the pile of his own dead men and doesn't even blink. He isn't here to win a fight. He's here to finish a job, and his eyes look like he just finished a 48-hour gaming binge without water. He's forcing his mana to the breaking point. Mana reflux. Hans realizes this man has zero intention of going home alive. He's turning himself into a tactical nuke. Hans goes for the desperate play, letting his own mana run rampant to intercept. Hans closes his eyes, ready for the end. Gear shift, then a voice from behind calls him a disappointment. Karen steps in, looking like he's mildly annoyed his nap was interrupted. The assassin freezes. Karen gives him that, "Is that all you've got?" look. Xian recognizes the name. Karen confirms it with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. One movement, the assassin's arm is just gone. Xian staggers, calling Karen a monster. Karen asks if that's a compliment, then realizes he's still standing. Wait. Guillotine starts vibrating in his hand. The danger sensor is screaming. The assassin is still grinning, even with one arm. He offers a fake apology, and the ground starts to roar. Hans screams for everyone to take cover. Leo looks like he's seen a ghost. The knights scramble, but Hans doesn't run. He throws his body over Karen like a human shield. Karen is actually stunned. "It's self-destruction magic!" Hans yells. Hans is apologizing for being incompetent while waiting to be vaporized. Xian detonates. The explosion levels the surrounding landscape. Dust, smoke, and zero signs of life. Hans opens his eyes, wondering if the afterlife is this dusty. Then he realizes he's not dead. A voice inside the smoke starts complaining. "You foolish master, you let me taste fresh blood so I'll earn my keep." Blue lightning crackles through the clearing. Karen tells Hans to wake up. He literally kicks him while he's down. Hans is understandably fuming. He just offered his life and got a boot to the ribs in return. Karen just shrugs. "Who asked you to save me?" Hans stops. He realizes something. The voice he heard earlier, it came from the sword. An ego sword. A weapon with a soul. The survivors are being hauled away from the wreckage. Hans is trying to process the talking sword thing. Guillotine threatens to cut his throat if he compares it to a cursed ego sword one more time. The sword is basically a grumpy boomer who just saved everyone's life. It complains about being tired and goes back to sleep. Karen offers it his own blood next time, which is a weirdly casual way to talk to a weapon. The local authorities finally show up. Thebes Vigilante Corps. Captain Hyrie tries to be respectful, offering an escort to the great ducal family members. Karen settles into the carriage, finally getting that break he wanted. Hans is still on high alert. He thinks the threat is still out there. Karen tells him to touch grass and stop overthinking. The Imperial Guard is already on the way. But then the conversation gets real. The Pavar Sultanate. The peace treaty Karen's grandfather built is officially falling apart. Sending a 6-star knight for a suicide mission? That's not an assassination. That's an invitation to a world war. Karen looks at Leo. Leo is staring at his hands, covered in blood. He's shaking. Karen's voice goes soft, but it's not comforting. Taking a life is something you never get used to, but you have to overcome it. Spoken like a man who has lived 3 lifetimes in the trenches. They arrive at Thebes. It's a massive, steampunk-inspired city that looks like it cost the author a week of sleep to draw. Mayor Grind meets them with the fake smile of a man who's about to get sued. He promises a full investigation into the mastermind. Karen just stares at him. He knows the mayor is sweating because the attack happened on his watch. He plays along for a second. The mayor tries to act like his new job is just so stressful. Karen keeps the polite mask on, then casually suggests the mayor should show sincerity by kneeling. The mayor's face does a backflip before Karen says he misspoke. Negotiation. They sit down for wine, and Karen goes straight for the throat. Explosives. You can't buy those at a corner store. They're strictly controlled by the Empire, unless they were smuggled. Specifically, from the Pavar Sultanate. The mayor realizes the 13-year-old just solved the case and pinned it on the local merchants in 30 seconds. Karen tells him that if he doesn't agree, people might think he's an accomplice. The mayor is currently rethinking every bribe he's ever taken. Karen leans in. The Reston family repays Grace tenfold and debts 100-fold. He's not asking for cooperation, he's describing what happens if it doesn't happen. The mayor panics and tries to change the subject. He brings up Karen's father and his maternal grandfather, Gale. He's trying to use family connections to soften the blow. Suddenly, a messenger bursts in. Urgent news from the capital. The mayor thinks it's just the Imperial Guard. It's not. The commissioner of the National Tax Service is leading the special division personally, Gale Periton, the man known as the Demon King. Karen just smiles. His grandfather is coming. Welcome to Thebes, where the nightlife is great, the lights are bright, and the sound of marching boots is currently ruining everyone's vibe. These aren't just random soldiers. This is Special Division 1, the IRS of this fantasy world. Someone is watching from the shadows, noting that the Demon King himself has arrived way ahead of schedule. Inside the mayor's office, it is pure chaos. The local guild leaders are losing their minds because a surprise tax audit is the one thing they didn't prep for. Mayor Grain is trying to smoke a cigar to stay calm, but his hands are shaking so much he might set his eyebrows on fire. He tries to tell them it's out of his hands, but then the door opens. Our guy Karen walks in like he owns the place, flanked by his babysitters. He's holding the evidence of the smuggled explosives. He asks if they all finally understand the situation. The room goes silent. One guild leader tries to ask for more time to prepare. Karen asks for his name. Viscount Humir. Karen says he'll be sure to mention that name to the tax commissioner personally. Humir's soul basically leaves his body as the door kicks open again. Special Division 1 is in the building. Gail Perrotin walks in and the temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. He doesn't waste time with hello, he just announces they are conducting a tax audit on every guild in the room. Karen thinks his grandfather looks more like a general than a bureaucrat. He's not wrong. Leo leans over and asks Hans if these tax guys are really that scary. Hans explains that since they handle high-tier nobles, they can literally mobilize the Imperial Guard. If you don't pay your taxes, they send a literal army to your house to take your lunch money. Gale shifts from demon bureaucrat to loving grandfather in about 0 seconds. Later that night, the two of them are sitting on a park bench. Gale asks if Karen suspects anyone. Karen plays it smart. He notes that the culprits left traces on purpose. They wanted House Reston to blame the Pavar Sultanate. It's a frame job, a sloppy one. Gale pats Karen on the head, which is probably the only time we'll see this man be wholesome. He asks if Karen wants to go find the culprits himself, but then he shuts it down. He says the world is vast and full of monsters. He tells Karen to stay quiet and head to the capital tomorrow. Karen smiles. He says, "Yes, grandfather, I'll stay quiet." Gale looks at him. He knows that smile. We all know that smile. Our guy has never kept a promise to stay quiet in his life. Elsewhere in the city, the Owen estate is packing up in a hurry. The guild leader is rushing his family into a carriage. He tells them to go ahead to safety. His wife and kids are worried, but he promises he'll follow shortly. He watches the carriage leave, sweating buckets. One of his hooded guards asks if they're being tracked. They are. And the Owen leader knows if he makes one mistake, he's cooked. Back at the safe house, Karen is sharpening his sword. A shadow falls over the room. Karen complains about nagging before even looking up. It's Xeris Winterguard. Xeris reminds him that the Grand Duke forbade him from going out. Karen asks if he's here to stop him. Xeris says he's just here to deliver a message from the family head. Halo Reston's order: find the culprits and exact blood for the dead. Show them the law of Blue Star Castle. Karen's face lights up. This is exactly what he wanted. He accepts the command, he grips guillotine, and the sword starts humming. Xeris notes that it's going to be a long night. Cut to the slums. Leo is questioning their life choices. He's dressed as a servant while Karen is the young noble. Karen explains that nobles wandering the black market alone attract too much attention. Leo is still salty that he's the one carrying the bags. They're heading to the east side of town where the law is basically a suggestion. Leo notes the area feels unsettling. Suddenly a hooded figure steps out of an alley. Leo reaches for his blade, but Karen stays calm. The figure says they were sent by Sir Xeris. Meet Julio. He leads them to a safe house. Inside, the place is rigged with soundproofing artifacts. Julio says they can speak freely. Karen asks how a local from Thebes became a Reston informant. Julio says he's just repaying a debt to Xeris. Karen cuts the small talk. Who in this city would attack House Reston with smuggled explosives? Julio has a book ready. There are only 2 groups in the black market capable of pulling this off, the Care and Caligo groups. Care is playing it safe and pulling out of the market. But Caligo? They're former slaves. They'll do anything for gold. Julio mentions that Caligo members left the city earlier today, exactly when the train was attacked. It's a neon sign pointing at them. Leo asks which group they should investigate first. Karen smirks. The ones with nothing to lose are always the most reckless. We're going to Caligo. Back at the mayor's mansion, Gale and the mayor are having a glass of wine. The mayor mentions that Karen asked him for a favor. Apparently, Karen told the mayor to hold Gale back no matter what excuse he had to use. Gale realizes his grandson played him. He's worried, but he admits that for a genius, age is just a number. However, Thebes is a viper's nest. The powerful houses in the capital are constantly checking House Reston's influence, and there are people in this city who would do anything to gain favor with those capital houses. It's the same reason the Emperor intervened here. Stability is a lie. Gale just wants to spend his later years in peace, but clearly, that's not happening. Then, the mayor drops a bombshell. Sir Mason is in town. Gale freezes. The 8-star unyielding shield. If he's here, the stakes just went from guild dispute to international incident. Back with our guy, they arrive at the entrance to Caligo's territory. It's a single door that can be sealed from the inside. "That's brutal," Leo says. Julio opens the way. It looks exactly like the kind of place you'd find a villain monologue. They head down the stairs. The entrance is blocked by two massive guards in full plate. They recognize Julio, but they aren't letting anyone in. Orders from the chairman. "No customers today." Karen stands there, silent. The guards tell them to leave while they're being nice. Karen asks if they're going to cut him down with those swords. He tells them to try it. Leo is panicking. He thinks Karen is being reckless. Karen whispers to Leo, "Second plan." He moves like a blur. The guards don't even have time to blink before the air is full of blue mana. Since talking didn't work, Karen decides it's time for the physical approach. Guillotine starts complaining immediately. The sword actually tells him it's going to refuse the blood of these low-tier guards. Even the sword is a snob. Apparently, it can talk as long as Karen is touching the sheath. Karen just laughs and moves. He calls the sword convenient while basically using it like a baseball bat. He disarms the first guard so fast the guy doesn't even realize he's missing his weapon. The guard is standing there holding air, staring at the sword embedded in the floor, moving like a man who really doesn't want to get fired. The informant, Julio, watches from the shadows, noting that the young wolf nickname is actually an understatement. Karen stops and asks the guards if they want to play a game. "Shall we begin a hostage play?" The guards are confused. A noble kid doing a hostage play? That's side character behavior. Then a woman's voice echoes through the hall, telling everyone to chill out. The chairwoman of Caligo steps out, asking Karen to stop bullying her employees. The guards look relieved, but they shouldn't be. She clearly knows exactly who Karen is. She invites them inside for a chat, but Karen isn't the trusting type. He keeps his sword at the guard's neck just to keep the vibes honest. Back at the mayor's place, the conversation gets heavy. Gale is piecing it together. Sir Mason, an 8-star legend, is in town guarding the 6th Prince, Revelio. Gale is genuinely worried now. The 6th Prince is an unruly, illegitimate son who was basically exiled to the frontier. The mayor tries to act like the prince is just here for the shopping, but Gale knows better. His main fear? That the prince and Karen might run into each other. Because if there's no trouble, Karen will custom build some himself. Back at Caligo, the doors fly open. Karen walks into a room that looks like a high-end villain lounge. A guy in a golden mask is sitting on the sofa drinking tea. He greets Karen like they're old high school rivals. Karen's internal sensors go off immediately. The man standing behind the sofa is pumping out 8-star energy. That's Sabina or Zara's level power. Leo is sweating, but Karen just narrows his eyes. The masked man says he just came to meet his sister. The chairwoman? Foster siblings? The golden mask guy is being way too casual for someone in a room with a mad dog. Karen makes a move. He doesn't aim for the guards. He lunges straight for the man on the sofa. Sir Mason just stands there, watching with a "here we go again" look. 1 second later, Karen has a blade to the masked man's throat. The man laughs. He's actually having a blast. He asks if Karen is going to demand a ransom or just kill him. Karen notes the golden eyes and black hair. Meet the 6th Prince of the Empire. Karen realizes he just upgraded his hostage from random guard to royal family. Then an elf walks in carrying tea. She asks if she can explain the situation before Karen starts the revolution. The prince calls her Rio, and the vibes are officially weird. Karen feels an enormous flow of magic from the woman. And the prince. Both of them are mages. The elf confirms they didn't attack the Reston family. She tells Karen to put down the sword and talk. Karen isn't buying it yet. She smiles. She powers up. If she had attacked the Restons, she wouldn't have left evidence. Karen realizes he's looking at least a 7th circle mage. The room is vibrating with power. She asks one more time, "Are you ready to start talking now?" The masks come off, literally. Tea is poured, and the hostage play is downgraded to a tense brunch. Poina explains they handle explosives, but only for the prince's experiments. The prince keeps trying to touch Karen, acting like they're best friends. Sir Mason warns Karen to watch his words, but the prince tells him to relax. The prince knows Karen's grandfather, Halo. Negotiation. Let's get to the main point. Poina officially introduces herself as the chairwoman of Caligo. She can tell Karen who the real culprit is. Karen knows there's a but coming. The condition is, Care-Shift Karen has to become friends with the prince. Karen looks like he'd rather fight a dragon with a toothpick. Getting involved with the royals is a headache he does not want. The prince argues that a friendship between a duke's house and a prince is advantageous. Karen asks how. It's a warning to the rest of the capital. Karen realizes this prince is a complete madman. His actual dream? To do anything that makes his father suffer. This kid is basically a trust fund rebel who wants to burn down the family business for the aesthetic. Poina interrupts the bonding. The Imperial Guard who came with the tax bureau has a separate purpose. They aren't actually looking for the attackers, which means they might be colluding with the culprit. The answer depends on who the culprit is. She hands over a scroll. It's a record of the culprit's movements. Karen looks at the document. He's made his choice. Cut to another part of the city. The Oyun Guild is packing up. The leader is rushing his men. He's talking to a magic orb, dreaming about the noble title he was promised. He's terrified because the Reston brats survived the attack. Suddenly, a guard bursts in. The knights just barged in! The guild leader thinks it's the Imperial Guard coming to save him. He's wrong. It's not the Imperial Guard. Karen steps through the door. He calls the leader a worthless snip. Karen notes that for someone who tries to take lives, this guy really cherishes his own family. Xeris walks in behind him carrying a sack. Karen asks the leader if he wants to see what's inside. The leader thinks it's his family's heads. Karen dumps the bag. Severed hands spill onto the floor. The guild leader starts wailing, but Karen tells him to look properly. Those aren't his family's hands. They're the hands of the assassins the leader's own partners sent to kill his family to tie up loose ends. The leader tries to thank him for saving them. Don't celebrate yet. The family is safe, but the leader is a traitor. His sentence: life in the underground prison with constant torture. Xeris drags him away. Back at the lounge, the prince asks about the situation in the capital. The emperor's health is failing, and the pro-war factions are having a field day. The split in the Imperial Guard is deepening. Poina notes that they've gained a reliable ally in Karen. The prince thinks Karen has fallen for his charm. He remembers arriving in Thebes after escaping the palace intrigue. His mother was almost killed. If Sir Mason hadn't been there, he'd be dead. He's not just a brat, he's a survivor. Karen will be an important person going forward. The House of Reston is about to move. Karen tells Gale he wants to publicly announce the attack and the investigation. Gale is hesitant. It might tarnish their prestige. Karen smirks. It makes it impossible for the culprits to hide, and it makes the mayor look like a hero for assisting them. Halo Reston gives the order, let Karen do what he wants. Xeris doesn't know the plan, but he knows better than to bet against the kid. Trust him once. Back at the Blue Star Castle, a message from our guy finally lands on the Duke's desk. Halo summons his son Pale to break the news. The report is basically a list of Karen's W's, a councilman arrested, the city under control, and a full pledge of cooperation. Pale looks at the paper like he's trying to read a foreign language. He realizes Karen didn't just solve a crime, he flipped the entire power structure of a major city. The mayor was a puppet, but now? He's the one pulling the strings. Halo is internally cheering. He calls the revenge brilliant, but Pale is having a classic concerned dad moment. He reminds Halo that Karen is only 13. This is a lot of weight for a kid who should be worried about homework and growth spurts. Halo shuts that down immediately. A wolf must walk the wolf's path. He tells Pale to stop babying the monster they created and trust him to the end. Pale relents. If his son is going to be a menace, he might as well be the best menace in the Empire. Halo's eyes go cold as he thinks about the Imperial Guard dogs clinging to power. He tells Pale to prepare. A storm is coming to the capital, and the Restons are the lightning. Cut back to Thebes at sunset. Mayor Grine is giving the performance of a lifetime to a massive crowd. He's playing the man of the people card, screaming about returning the city to its citizens. The crowd is eating it up. Leo, Karen, and Gale are watching from a balcony like they're at a movie premiere. Leo asks if all politicians are this fake. Gale admits that while Grine is a snake, he's a snake with actual talent. Leo is impressed, but Gale's mind is elsewhere. He's thinking about how this entire complex political play was designed by a 13-year-old. He realizes Halo is grooming Karen for the succession line, which in a family of warriors is basically a death sentence with extra steps. Karen turns to his grandfather. He asks if Gale is all right with being entangled in Reston business. He knows Gale hates public affairs and worries he made the old man break his principles. Gale puts a hand on his shoulder. He tells Karen that sometimes the situation is more important than the rules. The Emperor wanted the city in check anyway, so Gale's conscience is clear. But then he gives Karen a piece of advice. If you must do the right thing and principles get in the way, just break them. Spoken like a true legend. Gale leaves to settle some business before the capital. Leo watches him go and turns to Karen. He still doesn't get why the people love the mayor's speech so much. Karen explains the simple math. When the old powers fall, the new guys get a seat at the table. Everyone loves a vacancy. He calls Leo a hothouse flower who doesn't understand the real world. Leo tries to argue, but Karen offers to spar, and Leo realizes he'd rather stay a flower. Later that night, the mayor is still riding the high of his own voice. He thanks Karen for giving him the justification to purge the council. Karen is being polite, which is always a red flag. Grin asks about the Herong Knights and the reinforcements. Leo is just vibing in the back, realizing that politics is mostly just loud people agreeing with each other. The mayor says he needs to prep for his departure. Karen stops him. He has a parting gift. He slides a bag across the table. Gold. A lot of it. It's the extra profits from the magic stone mine they earned. Leo is internally screaming because he never agreed to share the loot. The next morning, the luggage is loaded. The escort to the capital is being handled by the Imperial Guard. Karen isn't happy about it. He asks if Xeris is coming along. Xeris says he has to escort the prisoners back to the fortress. Instead, someone else is taking charge of the escort. Hugo Reston, the son of Uncle Tails. A 6-star monster at 28. Karen realizes his quiet trip to the capital just got a massive, dangerous variable. Suddenly, the sound of a high-end engine cuts through the air. Prince Revelio rolls up in what looks like a fantasy world Rolls-Royce. Leo asks if they can just not go. Xeris gives him a look that says, "Get in the car, kid." The prince is leaning out of the window asking if Karen is excited. Karen's response is a solid "not really." Rio doesn't care. He knows the Restons and the Imperial Guard have beef, but he's here to bridge the gap. The guard arrives on horseback, looking very serious. Captain Ryuk Heimer apologizes for being late. He ignores the Restons until the prince forces the introduction. Ryuk is polite, but his eyes say he'd rather be anywhere else. He calls it an honor to escort the heirs. Nobody believes him. Karen remembers what Poina told him. The guard spent more time investigating the treason of the ruined railway than the attempt on his life. To the Empire, property damage is a bigger deal than an assassination attempt on a duke's grandson. Karen realizes the Imperial Guard's priorities are entirely political. He gives Ryuk a forced smile. He's filing this away for later. The prince signals the departure. Xeris whispers to Karen that he did well to hold back his temper. Karen just watches the guard. He's thinking that if these guys are actually lackeys for a rival house, he's going to personally smash them. This is our guy's core philosophy. Sell your soul to a demon? Fine. Sell your soul to a boring nobleman? Unacceptable. The car ride is quiet. The prince is trying to be Big Brother Rio, but Karen is staring out the window. Rio brings up the mayor's speech. He knows Karen was the director. He calls it a brilliant move to gain an ally for the future power struggles. Karen asks why he thinks that. Rio scoffs. Justice is a pretext. Restoring prestige is the goal. He tells Karen that cozying up to the black market was time well spent. He tries to claim he's a street-smart prince who survived all kinds of things. Karen's look says he doesn't believe a word of it. The prince pulls out a crystal orb. Poina is on the other end asking how it's going. Karen repeats that they are not friends. The prince is hurt, but Poina just laughs. Karen points out that they lack trust for a real partnership. Plus, joining hands with an elf-run guild without permission is a great way to get his head cut off by his own family. Poina sips her tea. She says Karen is misunderstanding her. She doesn't want to join hands with House Reston. She wants to join hands with Karen. He asks why. Good products are always worth investing in. The prince hates being called a product, but he can't argue with the logic. Poina tells Karen to use the info she gave him as a gift. She tells them to get along and cuts the call. Karen looks at the orb. He's surrounded by selfish people. He feels right at home. They approach the gates. The sunset hits the city walls. "Welcome to the capital, Deacus." The car speeds through the massive doors. They arrive at the manor under the cover of night. The prince offers to be a free tour guide. Karen declines. Hard. Rio drives off, shouting that they'll see each other soon anyway. Ryuk and the guard take their leave as well. Ryuk gives a respectful nod. Karen watches the horses trot away. Leo is staring at a massive, glowing tower in the distance. That's the magic tower, the center of the world's mana research. Leo is awestruck by how extravagant it is. Karen's eyes narrow. He notes that the mages have poured a lot of money into it since his last life. The vibes are officially different. They are at the heart of the spiderweb now. Suddenly, Karen goes stiff. Returning to the capital feels like returning to a grave. Memories of his execution are probably flashing in 4K. Then a voice comes from the darkness behind them. A single presence steps forward. Leo recognizes him first. Hugo Hyung. Karen is stunned. He didn't sense a single presence. Not a footstep, not a breath. Hugo Reston welcomes them to the capital. "Welcome to the capital, the place where our guy was literally executed 40 years ago. Usually, a homecoming involves cake. For Karen, it involves immediate mana-based harassment. He meets Hugo, the golden boy of the main family. Hugo's acting all polite, but his handshake has a very specific "I'm better than you" energy. Leo is vibrating in the background because the tension is thick enough to cut with a butter knife. Then, the ultimate defensive maneuver, a wild grandma appears. Karen might be a legendary war criminal on the inside, but to grandma, he's just a kid who needs a hug and probably a second serving of soup. She's taking care of the boys, mentioning that the grandfather, aka the man who killed Karen, is running late. She ushers them inside, but Hugo stays back for a second. He's looking at his hand like it just betrayed him. Here's the reveal. Hugo wasn't just shaking hands. He released his 6-star mana to see if Karen would fold. Karen didn't just stand there, he met the pressure head on. Hugo describes Karen's mana not as a calm sea, but as a storm. He's starting to realize the trash of the Reston family might actually be a monster. Meanwhile, the grandfather's orders echo in Hugo's head. Keep an eye on the cousins so they don't cause an incident. Hugo's officially intrigued. He's wondering exactly what kind of kid Karen really is. Karen, however, has zero interest in being a mystery. He gets to his room and immediately collapses. He's annoyed. Hugo just randomly shoved mana into him for no reason. He realizes Hugo is a different breed of snake than his Uncle Tails. More subtle, more dangerous, but thinking is hard, and being in the city where you died is a massive vibe kill. Time for a coping mechanism. He breaks out the expensive booze he taxed from the prince's carriage. Nothing says I'm a responsible 13-year-old like solo drinking stolen wine in a dark room. But he's not drinking alone. He pours a bit onto the blade of guillotine. The sword actually talks back. It's complaining that it wants blood, not vintage grapes. Karen tells the sword to shut up. This city feels like his grave, and he needs someone to talk to. Guillotine drops a bomb. It's been reading Karen's memories. Karen calls it a demonic sword. The sword gets offended. It remembers being Karen's weapon in his past life, but it has no idea how it became a sentient ego sword. It just knows it wants to find the person who changed it and, well, behead them 1,000 times. Karen points out that usually one beheading gets the job done. Guillotine tells him if he wants real answers, he needs to visit the Blue Dragon in the North Sea, but apparently Karen is currently too weak for that. Karen stops the banter. He looks out at the capital. He needs to know why he's back. A life that shouldn't be possible happened because of some immense force. The sword interrupts his edgy monologue because it wants another drink. Next day, the boys hit the streets. The capital is popping. Street performers, vendors, and people hyping up the 6th prince. Leo is acting like a total country bumpkin, and Karen is trying to distance himself from the embarrassment. Hugo shows up to play the responsible big brother role, telling Leo to act with dignity. Then he turns that same energy on Karen. Respect your elders in public. Karen gives him the look. So, when we're alone, I can speak freely? Hugo immediately changes the subject. Our guy's sass is 9-star level. Leo is fuming in the background because he's being ignored. Karen stops in front of a very specific tailor shop. He tells Hugo he wants to go in here. Hugo's confused. This place looks ancient. It's for old folks. Karen just smiles. Trends come back around, brother. Leo mocks him for knowing nothing about fashion. Hugo just watches. He's starting to realize Karen doesn't do anything by accident. They walk in. The owner, Luhan, welcomes them. He's honest. He doesn't make young people clothes. He asks which of them is ordering. Karen steps forward. And suddenly, we're 40 years in the past. A younger Luhan is screaming at a man. The man is Cain Latour, Karen's past self. Cain is being a menace, probably getting his clothes ruined in a fight again. Luhan remembers the peaceful days that weren't actually peaceful. Luhan agrees to do his best because Karen is Halo's grandson. Karen asks if he remembers Sir Cain. Luhan smiles. He says to most people Cain was a demon, but to him, he was endlessly kind. He always just called him kid. Karen feels that in his soul. Being remembered like that, it hits different. Karen asks for the tailor's name. It's Luhan. And right then a girl bursts through the door like an explosion. She's screaming that Sir Cain's enemy is in the capital. She means the Reston family. Everyone in the shop freezes. Karen's just standing there like, wait, I'm my own enemy now? Hugo recognizes her immediately. Her name is Amy Altura. Leo is losing his mind because he knows that name. She's a 4-star prodigy at 17. Leo's having a crisis because geniuses are apparently a dime a dozen in the capital. Hugo apologizes for Karen's lack of manners, which is a total lie but keeps the peace. He introduces the boys to Sir Amy of the Imperial Guard. Amy is intense. She stares down Leo and tells them she already knows who they are. The escort knights briefed her. Leo's disappointed. He thought his fame had preceded him. Nope, just a work memo. Karen notes that she's got good intuition. Or maybe she's just sensing their mana. Amy is acting all humble, saying she's just an apprentice. Hugo continues the flattery, but Karen decides to stir the pot. He asks why people say his grandfather is Cain's enemy. Then he goes full villain mode. Cain was just a guy who sold his soul to a demon, right? What's so great about him? Hugo tells him to watch his tongue. But it's too late. Amy's face goes from polite to I will end your bloodline in 1 second. She challenges Karen to a duel on the spot. Karen's response? He picks his ear. Absolute savage behavior. She claims she's inherited Cain's will. Karen asks what that even means. Staying by a demon's side? Amy is shaking. She's the type you can't reason with because she's a true believer. Her stomach growls loudly. The duel is postponed by a biological requirement for calories. Karen doesn't miss a beat. Beef? Pork? Mutton? He's currently flexing his mana while offering her a menu. Amy is paralyzed. This kid is only 13, but the mana coming off him is terrifying. She heard he was a 4-star, but this is a different level entirely. Luhan chimes in. He knows Amy's broke because she's paying off family debts. Hugo tells her she should eat on time. Amy is red-faced and defeated by kindness. The scene shifts to a restaurant. Amy is currently inhaling meat like she hasn't seen food in a week. She claims she's only eating to prepare for the duel. She insists she'll pay them back with her next paycheck. Then she stands up and offers a handshake to seal the deal. Karen looks at her hand. It's rough, coarse, full of calluses. He realizes she's a pure effort type. No shortcuts, just thousands of hours of training. He likes her. If she wasn't so obsessed with his past self, she'd be the perfect talent. He shakes her hand. They look like they're about to kill each other 1 minute and best friends the next. Suddenly, a group of guards enters the restaurant. Hugo mentions a Professor Eurus who has a new perspective on Sir Cain. Then a new player enters. A blonde guy in a green cloak. He tells his guards to stay back. Amy asks when the duel is happening. Karen says right after this next plate. Amy warns him she won't go easy just because he's a kid. The green cloak guy walks up behind her. He puts a hand on her shoulder. You look pleased, Amy. Then he looks at Karen with pure disgust. He asks if apprentice knights have so much free time that they hang out with men like this. He calls Karen a reckless brat. And Karen? He's just got that look in his eyes. De Gaulle is being a top-tier creep. He's demanding interest from Amy, acting like he owns the city. Hugo's just standing there, evaluating the situation like it's a chess match. Hugo recognizes him. De Gaulle, the youngest son of the Kian family, aka the most hated loan sharks in the capital. De Gaulle starts bragging about his family's money and influence. Karen has heard enough. He didn't come to the capital to listen to a discount noble yap. He stands up and looks at Hugo. I'll explain this to grandfather later. He pulls out a high-grade healing potion. De Gaulle has no idea what's coming. He's not going to kill him. He's just going to give him the most efficient beatdown in history. Cut to the Imperial Palace. The atmosphere is heavy. Grandfather Halo is at his desk when the news drops. Karen was arrested 30 minutes ago. Halo's first reaction? A facepalm. The kid hasn't even been in the city for 24 hours. The charge is assaulting the son of Viscount Kian. Halo recognizes the name. De Gaulle is famous for being a scoundrel who harasses debtors' daughters. The report says Karen beat him senseless, while force-feeding him healing potions so he could keep beating him. Even Halo is a bit disturbed by that level of dedication. The situation is messy because the Imperial Guard has jurisdiction over noble incidents. Halo prepares to step in and fix the mess, but his aide tells him it won't be necessary. De Gaulle, the victim, is reportedly begging for leniency. He's crying, claiming everything was his fault and that Karen is innocent. Apparently, Karen beat the scoundrel right out of him. Halo starts laughing. He realizes the rumors about Karen being a mad dog are about to sweep the city. Then he pauses. He knows his son-in-law wouldn't send Karen here without a reason. A thought occurs to him. The sun sets over the capital. Halo realizes he's personally unleashed a monster upon the city's social elite. Hedium Pax Karen walks out of the city guard station like he just finished a spa day. He tells the captain he'll be seeing him often. The captain is sweating through his uniform. Karen mentions his grandfather, Archduke Halo. And then he drops the real tactical nuke, his maternal grandfather. The captain asks for the name, Sir Gale, the commissioner of the National Tax Service. The captain's soul basically leaves his body. Hugo, Amy, and Leo are waiting outside. Karen claims he just gave the captain a pep talk for justice. Hugo is exhausted. He tells Karen that since the case is closed, he won't hold him responsible, but he begs Karen to give him a heads up before the next disaster. Karen's smile is not reassuring. Hugo realizes trying to control this kid is like trying to catch a hurricane with a net. Karen apologizes to Hugo for the unpleasantness, but Hugo admits it was actually pretty amusing. Amy is still in shock, but Leo is ready for a snack. They head toward a tea house. Hugo is left wondering if he should just buy some magic rope to keep Karen tied up. Probably a good investment. The group settles into a tea house. Karen is surrounded by a mountain of cookies and cakes. Amy is eyeing the sweets like a starving wolf. Karen looks annoyed. The owner keeps bringing more food for free. He's treating Karen like a saint. Word has spread that Karen delivered divine punishment to De Gaulle. Karen is fuming. He wanted to be feared as a mad dog, not hailed as a local hero. He takes a bite of a cookie, at least it tastes good. He pivots the conversation to Amy's debt. She explains her father's business failed after being too aggressive. Managing a territory on just taxes wasn't enough. Life in the capital is expensive for local nobles. Hugo asks why the Imperial Guard doesn't support a talent like her. Amy says it's because she hasn't chosen a political faction yet. She believes a true knight follows the sword, not politics. Just like her idol, Sir Kane. Karen stares at her. I'll pay off your debt. Join me. Here Shift Leo spits out his tea. He thinks Karen is pulling a De Gaulle and trying to make Amy his woman. Hugo is equally horrified, lecturing Karen about tramping on a knight's honor. Karen has to scream to be heard, "I meant join the Hyrong Knights!" Amy is giggling. She knows Karen isn't that kind of guy, but she declines the offer. She wants to stay in the Imperial Guard and change it from the inside. She's sure Sir Kane would have given the same answer. Karen looks away. He remembers his old soldiers. Foolish, stubborn idiots who stayed by his side until the very end, even when he told them to run. He smiles. He's seen this kind of loyalty before. They leave the tea house. Karen decides to skip the informal duel. Instead, he's going to request a formal exchange match. Amy tells him to use formal speech next time because she's older. Karen tells her he only respects people stronger than him. Beat me in the match, then we'll talk. Back at the Reston Manor, Xerus is yapping at Karen through a magic orb. He's lecturing him about the beating he gave the Kian's son. Karen's just chilling. No major problem, right? Xerus warns him that every noble family in the city is now watching him. He begs Karen to behave during tomorrow's audience with the Emperor. Karen swears on his father's honor. Xerus asks why not his own honor. Karen admits he doesn't have any. He tells Xerus about the recruitment offer for Amy. Xerus is disappointed she rejected him. She's too good for the guard. Karen asks Xerus to put him through to the family head. Xerus obliges. Karen sits on the balcony, waiting. Halo's voice comes through the orb. Karen addresses him as family head. He requests a formal exchange match with the Imperial Guard. Halo asks for the reason. Karen claims he just wants to test his skills against a rival order. Halo knows there's more to it, but he agrees. However, there's one condition. Karen is absolutely forbidden from causing trouble until the banquet is over. Karen agrees. He thinks staying quiet for a day is easy. He doesn't want to cause a scene anyway. After all, this city is his grave too. The sun sets over the capital, and if you think things are finally calming down, you clearly haven't been paying attention. Xerus knocks on the door of the Reston estate. He's checking in with the grandfather, Halo. The Imperial Guard accepted Karen's match request with pleasure. Translation: they can't wait to humble the Reston brat. Xerus asks if Halo is worried about Karen. Halo just scoffs. He's not worried, he's just having a serious case of Kane PTSD. He mentions that if Kane were still alive, the power balance wouldn't be this messy. Xerus teases him about missing his old friend, and Halo reacts like a classic tsundere. Miss that guy? Please. He never even listened to me. Sure, Grandpa. Whatever helps you sleep. The conversation shifts to Amy Altura. Xerus mentions Karen wants her for the Hyrong Knights. The reason? Her talent is crazy, and her obsession with Kane is, well, it's a vibe. Halo notes that it's rare for a young knight to even mention Kane's name in the Guard. The Empire has spent 50 years trying to Troll-Alt-Delete Kane from history, so Karen's interest in her makes sense. Halo asks about her family background. Xerus drops a lore nugget. 50 years ago, her family name was Act. Halo's eyes go sharp. That Act? Cut to the streets. The crowds are cheering for the Reston boys. Leo is actually feeling shy for once, which is a miracle. Karen, however, is not buying the hype. He knows exactly what this is. This is an Imperial PR stunt. The palace is trying to show the other nobles that the Restons are on their side. It's basically a political leash made of flower petals. Karen notes that even a puppet emperor has some survival instincts. They arrive at the palace and are greeted by Sir Luke. Luke's acting professional, but he's definitely measuring the kids for a casket. He tells them they have to hand over their swords. Karen hands over guillotine but mentions that his grandpa once broke this rule 50 years ago. Everyone gets real quiet. Mentioning the revolution inside the palace is like mentioning a bad breakup at a wedding. Luke warns them to watch their mouths in front of the Emperor. Beat Karen gives a playful "I'll keep that in mind," while guillotine literally snaps at the guard. The guard nearly drops the sword because it's vibrating with pure malice. Luke is stunned by the sword energy. Karen just smirks. "My sword is a bit fierce. Handle with care." He's asserting dominance without even drawing a blade. King behavior. They start the long walk to the main palace. The visuals are top tier, but the atmosphere is suffocating. Leo is trying to make small talk about the architecture, But Karen isn't answering. Karen's eyes are different. Leo senses it, a surge of mana that Karen isn't even trying to hide. The guards are oblivious, but Leo is sweating. He's never seen Karen look like this. Not angry, just heavy. Karen is remembering his Aunt Sabina's advice. Observe Karen's see. Leo realizes he'll never truly understand the depth of what Karen is feeling. Karen is having a full-blown flashback to the fall of the capital. The blood, the fire, the betrayal. He shakes it off. He's got work to do. They reach the throne room doors. The announcer calls them in. The doors creak open. Karen steps forward, looking for the face of the man who replaced his old master. He's ready to see a puppet, but instead, he finds someone much more familiar. Karen looks up and sees the successor to the man he once called Emperor. He's confused. Who is that? The man on the throne isn't the Emperor. The Emperor is sick. It's the Crown Prince, Eorian Karhan. Leo and the others immediately take a knee. Karen follows suit, but he's vibrating with pure, unadulterated rage. Eorian praises them for the Bellis subjugation. He says they truly live up to the hero's grandson's reputation. Karen is clenching his fist so hard his knuckles are white. The resemblance is too much. Eorian looks exactly like the man who sold his soul to the devil. Eorian mentions that he heard Karen is friends with Prince Levelio. Leo happily confirms it, while Karen's face says, "I am surrounded by idiots." Karen's internal monologue is just one long scream. Eorian eyes them suspiciously. He says he looks forward to the Reston Duchy's continued friendship. Karen gives a formal response, but there's a blade in every word. The atmosphere in the room is so thick you could use it as a shield. Eorian dismisses them to a banquet later that evening. They are guided to the detached palace to rest. Eorian watches them leave with a look that says he's already planned their funerals. He repeats Karen's words back to himself. Contribute to the friendship? Interesting. Inside the detached palace, the boys finally breathe. Leo brings up the history of the coup. Karen snaps at him. Talking about the Emperor's father being evil while inside the palace is a great way to commit speedrun suicide. Guillotine mocks Karen's dull bloodline, and Karen tells the sword to shut up and scan for bugs. The sword confirms the room is clean of eavesdropping magic. Leo asks why the Imperial family hates them if they helped with the coup. Karen notes that Leo is actually getting perceptive. He mentions the hostility they felt from Eorian earlier. And then, the door opens. It's our favorite chaos gremlin, Rio. He's acting like he owns the place as usual. Karen is immediately annoyed. A troublesome guy has arrived. Rio tells them to relax and sit down. He explains the politics. Eorian's maternal family is the Marquisate of Diaz. They hate the Restons because the Restons are the only thing standing between them and total control. Rio calls it an imperial family tradition. A son ousts his father to take the throne. Karen goes quiet. Rio mentions that tonight's banquet is going to be eventful. Every noble in the capital is showing up, including the ones backed by Diaz. He asks Karen if he wants to cause a scene. Karen flips it. "You're the one who wants a scene, Rio." Rio just grins. Guilty. He offers to set the stage for Karen to run wild. Karen listens. He's in. Leo is vibrating with fear. Causing a scene at an emperor's banquet? This is how you end up on a wanted poster. The banquet begins. The visuals are stunning. Dresses, lights, champagne. The boys enter the room. Leo is immediately distracted by the noble ladies, and Karen has to tell him to snap out of it. Karen has a moment of reflection. He remembers being a slave in a previous life. Nobody welcomed him then. Suddenly, his mana sensors scream. Guillotine feels it too. That specific sickening energy. Black magic. Our guy is currently standing in the middle of the most expensive party in the world, and all he can smell is the literal scent of his own death. Black magic is floating through the air like invisible toxic waste. The Imperial Palace is supposed to be crawling with top-tier mages, but whoever is leaking this energy is good enough to ghost right past them. Leo is doing his best "I'm a fancy noble" impression, but Karen is not having it. He tells Leo to stop making a fuss because it's embarrassing for the family. Suddenly, a new challenger appears. Meet Karim, the pride of the Diaz family. He offers a handshake, acting like he's doing Karen a massive favor by acknowledging him. Karen doesn't even make eye contact. He just shakes the hand like he's checking the weight of a potato. Leo starts apologizing immediately, playing the "he's just nervous" card. Karim's internal monologue is already writing a 3-page hate letter about Karen's lack of manners. He's looking at Karen like he's a bug that needs a very expensive shoe to crush it. Then, Rio enters the conversation with a wink. He starts hyping up House Reston, calling them the most loyal subjects of the Empire. Karim's blood pressure is hitting record highs. He hates that a half-blood royal like Rio is running his mouth in front of real nobles. Rio just laughs it off, using his commoner blood as an excuse for being a chaos gremlin. Karen isn't listening to the political yapping, he's following the thread. He traces the energy through the crowd, straight to a woman in a mask. She's smiling, the kind of smile you see on a shark right before the music starts. Kareem tries to resume the conversation, but the vibe in the room has shifted. He tells Rio that some conversations are only for subjects of the crown. Rio fires back, pointing out that everyone knows the Diaz family thinks they are the crown. He draws the sword. He tells Rio the play is over. There's a rat in the room using black magic. Rio's eyes go wide. This isn't a joke anymore. The noble ladies in the back are wondering if they should call the guard. Karen gives a look that says, "I am the guard," and the guard is in a bad mood. He repeats the family motto, "Demons to rest in." He tells Rio to keep everyone inside. Kareem tries to stand in his way, acting all tough. Karen just walks past him. The pressure coming off our guy is so heavy Kareem can't even draw his own blade. He's just standing there sweating while a 13-year-old alpha walks into a boss fight. Rio pulls out a golden orb, an artifact from his sister Poina. It's an emergency hallucinatory barrier. The room lights up as a golden grid seals the battlefield. Now, whatever happens inside, the rest of the palace won't see it yet. Karen walks toward the masked woman. He knows that nobody in this city actually likes his family. Leo is finally realizing that Karen wasn't just being moody, he was hunting. The woman takes off her mask. She realizes she's been made. She praises Halo's bloodline for being able to sense her. She's not just a noblewoman, she's a demon. Black mana starts exploding out of her, cracking Rio's barrier. She tells Karen he's pretty and that she likes him. Karen doesn't do compliments. He lunges. One clean swing. Her head hits the floor before the nobles can even finish their champagne. But this is a demon. The decapitated head looks up and calls him lovely. Leo's face says it all. The party is officially ruined. The ballroom is full of screaming nobles and a floor covered in black flower petals. The demon woman Shunia is currently growing a new head. It's not a perfect regeneration, but it's enough to stay in the fight. She notes that Guillotine just devoured some of her mana. Karen looks genuinely annoyed that she's still breathing. Shunia moves faster than the eye can see. Karen dodges, but she's like a shadow with claws. The air is full of purple mana slashes. She catches him. A deep cut opens on his neck. She tastes the blood and calls it sweet. Leo screams for Karen and tries to step in. Rio stops him. "Don't go, Leo." Leo is confused. They're a team, right? Rio points out the obvious. Karen hasn't asked for help, and if Leo steps into that meat grinder right now, he's not a teammate, he's just extra paperwork. Rio tells him he'll be a great warrior one day, but right now he'd just be a meaningless casualty. Guillotine talks to Karen. It tells him this opponent is too much for his current body. "You'll die a meaningless death." Karen remembers his old soldiers again. He realizes that to him, a meaningless death doesn't sound so bad as long as he's the one choosing it. Shunia is impressed. She's never seen a kid with eyes full of that much hatred. She lunges again, wondering if all Restons are built different. Karen takes a stance. The black petals fill the room like a blizzard. One of the noble ladies gets caught in the crossfire. It's not pretty. Karen realizes he can't dodge anymore without letting the bystanders get slaughtered. Rio screams his name. Rio drops the defense and uses his magic to protect the crowd instead. Shunia slams into Karen, her power shaking the floor. She tells him her petals aren't just for show. Karen has had enough of the yapping. He decides to break the rules. He begins to forcibly open his mana circuits. Seawave Sword, 5th form, Maelstrom. Shunia finally looks worried. Blood starts leaking from Karen's mouth and eyes. Guillotine is screaming at him that his body can't handle this level of output. Karen's response, "I don't care." He's going to pierce her heart even if it burns his soul to do it. Shunia smiles. She's found a playmate who is just as crazy as she is. The illusion magic breaks. The sirens are going off. Sir Luke and the Imperial Guards are rushing to the scene. They've detected magic in the banquet hall. The mages from the magic tower have arrived via portal. Luke's face is pure steel. A banquet for the Emperor has been turned into a war zone. They try to enter, but the mages can't dispel the barrier. The report comes back, it's black magic. The knights freeze. The capital hasn't seen black magic in 50 years. The demon's clone is still talking. She tells Karen that her king hasn't given her permission to kill him yet, so she's just going to enjoy the show. She lunges again, moving faster than a 13-year-old's reflexes should be able to handle. Karen is struggling, sixing for the exchange. He swings, she dodges in midair like she's glitching through the frames, and he realizes there is zero opening here. He hears his Aunt Sabina's voice in his head, reminding him that the sea isn't something you control, You embrace it. Leo screams for him to dodge, but Karen does the one thing a sane person wouldn't. He takes the hit. He lets the demon's claws sink into his shoulder just to pin her down. It's a brutal trade, but it gives him the millisecond he needs to counter. Shunya is actually impressed. She didn't expect a kid to have the black dog mentality. Then she sees the sword. Guillotine starts speaking to Karen's mind, explaining that the more demonic energy it eats, the more power it can pump back into his broken body. Our guy basically has a sword that runs on demon premium fuel. The barrier finally shatters as the clone starts to dissolve. She tells him she'll be waiting beyond the North Sea. Karen's response is a simple, "I'm looking forward to it." The clone explodes into a mess of black petals and mana. The room is silent for about 2 seconds before the panic sets in. The Imperial Guards are having a collective midlife crisis because they almost died in their own palace. They realize the delinquent 6th prince is the only reason half the nobles aren't dead. But there's a problem. Imperial bloodlines aren't allowed to learn magic. It's the law. Karen is currently swaying like he just finished a 24-hour stream with no water. Leo is panicking, but Revelio walks up like he's just casually checking the weather. He tosses Karen a small bottle. It's Dew of the World Tree, basically the most expensive health potion in the world. Karen looks at it and thinks, "You better not be poisoning me," then drinks it because he literally has no other choice. It's a miracle elixir that fixes his mana circuits instantly. He tells the prince he won't forget the help. Revelio just smiles, but he looks like he's already 3 steps ahead of everyone. Then, out of nowhere, he punches Karen in the face. He knocks the kid out cold for his own safety. Leo is about to throw hands, but the prince explains that the cavalry has arrived. The guard captain, Ryuk, shows up to arrest Revelio. The charge? Breaking the Imperial Covenant by using magic. Revelio goes willingly. He's the chillest person in the room despite being arrested for high treason. He even cracks a joke about his innocence while the guards surround him. As he's led away, he tells Leo that his part is done, and now it's the Reston family's turn to play. He specifically tells Leo to make sure Grand Duke Halo knows he helped. Leo is confused, but the viewers should be taking notes. This was a setup. Low down the build-up, we cut to the throne room. The atmosphere is heavy. Lightning strikes outside. Grand Duke Halo is standing in the middle of the room looking like a natural disaster in a blue cloak. He's not here for the Crown Prince's politics. He's here for his grandsons. And he doesn't look like he's asking for permission. We open on a memory. The sunset over the old capital. Cain Latour is standing on a rampart looking at a city he's about to lose. Curcia walks up to him. She asks if he's nervous. Cain, being a classic edgelord, says he's stronger than Halo and has just been holding back. Curcia doesn't buy it. She tells him the Emperor gave him dark power, but he can still survive if he runs now. She wants him to choose life. Cain thinks being chased for life sounds like a massive headache. Curcia vows to die with him if that's his choice. She asks why he's risking his life for a mad Emperor. Cain looks her in the eye and tells her it's not for the Emperor. After a life spent as a slave, the only real choice he has left is how he ends it. Curcia calls him a fool, but she's staying. Return to Resin. Karen wakes up in a palace infirmary. The memory of his death is still fresh. Outside the door, the Reston Knights and the Imperial Guards are basically having a staring contest. The vibes are terrible. Everyone wants to go home, but Grand Duke Halo isn't moving until the investigation is done. Karen realizes he's lucky to be alive. Leo and Amy are at his bedside. Leo actually thanks Amy for helping. Amy is just happy she could help her idol and his cousin. Karen sits up, and Amy starts going off on her "if Sir Kane were alive" tangent again. Our guy is immediately annoyed. He wants to know where that Revelio bastard is. He's still salty about the punch to the head. Leo explains the prince was arrested and Halo is handling the fallout. The Halang Knights are guarding the infirmary now. Karen asks why Amy is still here. She says she was just repaying her benefactor. She's wholesome, which is a rare trait in this series. Then, the door opens. The room goes cold. Grand Duke Halo walks in. He looks at Karen and notices something impossible. Karen's mana capacity has jumped to 5 oceans. A 13-year-old having that much mana is like a toddler carrying a nuke. Halo isn't impressed. He's pissed. He commands Karen that the moment they return home, all external activities are banned. 4 years. Nothing but training. Halo tells him that a rash desire for power always brings disaster. Karen argues that it wasn't just greed. The demon left a message. He mentions the North Sea. Halo's face goes very still. He tells Karen he doesn't have the right to know what's out there yet. Karen then mentions Revelio's help and the World Tree Dew. Halo explains that while there's no evidence the prince was involved in the attack, he's under surveillance by the Reston Knights now. Leo thinks the prince is being punished. Karen realizes the truth. Grand Duke Halo is protecting the prince under the guise of an arrest. By assigning his own knights to watch Revelio, Halo has effectively made the Reston family the prince's political shield. Revelio played them perfectly. He used his arrest to force the strongest family in the Empire to back him. Karen asks Amy to guide him to the Imperial Guard headquarters. He says he's curious about something. Amy gets a chill. She knows that look. Karen is definitely scheming. Jarrus, the knight assigned to watch him, looks worried. Karen gives a thumbs up and a wink. Jarrus sighs. He knows his babysitting job just got significantly more dangerous. The capital is buzzing with Karen's name. Inside the Reston estate, the mood is slightly less celebratory. Pale is losing his mind because this is the second time his son has almost been deleted from the server. Hugo is just sitting there, taking the heat for the family's intelligence failure. He tells Pale to relax, but Hugo is secretly fuming. He makes his exit, muttering about how someone needs to take responsibility. Once he's alone, the mask slips. Hugo realizes Karen isn't just a talented kid anymore. He's a direct threat to the family hierarchy. He pulls out a communication orb to talk to someone he calls Elder. Apparently, there's an urgent matter regarding the succession. The Elder tells him the timing is bad, but Hugo insists it's for the sake of the family. He looks out the window, basically deciding that Karen is either going to be an ally or he's going to be a problem that needs to be solved. Karen is in deep cultivation. The dew of the world tree is doing work. He opens his eyes and feels the change. The mana has assimilated perfectly. Even for a legendary veteran, this is impressive. He realizes the prince gave him a massive W with this item. He makes a mental note to bully Revelio for more later. Elves really do have the best loot. He walks out of his room, feeling like a new man, and runs straight into Leo, who has been standing outside like a gargoyle. Leo claims he was protecting him on Halo's orders. It's a wholesome moment, but Karen can't help but remind him that Leo used to be his biggest hater. Leo gets defensive, but then he gets serious. He knows he's lacking, but he swears he'll block at least one sword aimed at Karen's back. Karen looks at him for a long beat. "I know," he says. Leo watches him walk away, fully aware that Karen is reaching heights he'll never touch, but he's still going to chase him, just so he can be helpful, even if it's just a little. Pivot to the training grounds. We jump to the Imperial Guard HQ. The elite guards are training, and Karen just rolls up like he owns the place. Leo is confused why they are here. Karen gives him that "don't ask questions you don't want the answer to" smile. They meet Jarrus, who looks like he's already regretted agreeing to this. Karen requested a very specific sparring session. Amy shows up looking confused. She doesn't get why Karen is insisting on a duel right now. Karen doesn't give her a reason. Instead, he asks her if she actually has the skill to follow in the footsteps of the Canelator she admires so much. He tosses her a training sword. He's baiting her in front of the entire Imperial Guard. Amy grips the hilt. The challenge is accepted. The pigtails are ready for war. They step into the ring. Leo is worried this looks like a provocation to the guards. It absolutely is. That's the point. Karen tells her to go first. Amy doesn't hesitate. She lunges. Sword swings down. Karen parries with zero effort. The impact sends a shockwave through her arms. She's stunned. He didn't even take a proper stance. She realizes he's not using the Reston style. It feels like Imperial swordsmanship. Before she can process that, he moves. He's a blur. Amy realizes she can't block this. The impact shakes the whole yard. Amy is flat on her back, staring at the sky. Karen tells her to get up because enemies on the battlefield won't wait for her to find her respawn button. She gets back up, shaky but determined. She lunges again. He dodges, noting that she's trying to break his balance. "Not bad," he says before kicking her into the dirt. He lectures her about the weight of protection. Jarrus is watching, recognizing the Imperial style, irregular movements designed for one-hit kills. But something is off. Leo asks if Karen's movements seem strange. Jarrus notes that Leo's eye for combat is actually getting better. It's not just Imperial style. It's a mix. A half mix that shouldn't exist. Karen tells Amy to stand up again. Jarrus realizes Karen is actually putting in the work to train her, and Amy is weirdly enjoying the beatdown. Leo looks at her like she's lost her mind. She's smiling while bleeding. Yeah, she's definitely a Canelator fan. Karen asks if that's all she's got. She hits the ground one last time. He puts the training sword to her throat. She whispers that she reached it. Karen smiles. Good. He turns to the crowd of guards. "Next!" he shouts, beckoning them with a finger. He calls them rotten cowards for avoiding a duel. That usually does the trick. Then, a voice cuts through the noise. Karen grins. He just caught a big fish. It's Sir Luke. Luke offers to teach the kid a lesson, with real swords. The room goes quiet. Real steel means real blood. Jarrus doesn't stop it. He knows the law of the training ground. What happens here stays here. Karen is practically vibrating with excitement. Luke draws his blade. He's not planning on being gentle. He calls Karen the mad dog of Azure Sea. Karen tells him to make the first move. Karen lunges. The amount of mana he's pumping out is ridiculous. Steel meets steel, and the shock travels all the way up their arms. Luke realizes if he doesn't focus, he's getting swept away. The floor literally cracks under the pressure. Karen sees an opening. Luke tries to finish it quickly. He sees Karen smiling. The blade passes through Karen's shirt, drawing blood, but it was bait. Karen counters with a move that Luke recognizes instantly. Sabina is watching from the balcony. She notes that at 13, Karen is fighting on equal footing with the next commander of the guards. Luke is genuinely shocked. He feels the sword of his seniors in the kid's movements. He decides to stop playing around and use his full power. Guillotine senses the killing intent. Luke takes a high stance. Karen's eyes widen. The mana takes the shape of a crescent moon. Luke's moonlight technique looks impressive. Standard 6th form. Predictable energy. Karen isn't even sweating. He initiates high tide. Blue mana meets orange. Luke swings hard, but Karen slices through the moonlight energy like it's cheap paper. He realizes this moonlight is a fake. He remembers Sir Karua from his past life. Leo is still screaming for a dodge. Luke follows through. An explosion of dust and debris. Karen takes the hit to his side. Leo looks like his soul just left his body. Karen isn't down. He's actually holding Luke's collar. His eyes are glowing. He asks one question: who taught you that original form? The entire training ground goes dead silent. Then, Karen just apologizes. He says he got too excited. Luke is internally screaming because a 13-year-old just gripped him like a hydraulic press. Karen looks at the gaping hole in his side. It's nothing. It'll heal. He shifts into coaching mode. He asks Luke how he knows about the moonlight style. Luke is bewildered. This kid is name-dropping legendary knights like he's reading a Wikipedia page. Karen gives him free advice. Try using multiple fake moons instead of just one. Then he apologizes for interfering. Luke actually bows. He's officially humbled. Karen realizes Luke isn't a bad guy even if he works for the Diaz faction. He's just a soldier. The crowd of guards is starting to realize the Imperial Guard needs a serious wake-up call. Karen points to Amy. He tells Luke not to let a gemstone go to waste. He's basically outsourcing Amy's training to an Imperial commander. Luke is thinking this is a complete defeat. He feels ashamed for even showing killing intent. He asks to cross swords again in the future. Karen says, sure, meet me in 4 years. The crowd is confused. 4 years? Karen leaves them with a smile that says, I'm about to go do a time skip. Luke is actually looking forward to it. Inside the palace at night, Halo is sitting with the Crown Prince and Marquise Diaz. They're discussing how a demon got past the detection magic. Halo is running the room. He's calling out the Southern Kingdom's refugees. The Crown Prince is stuttering. Halo drops the bomb. They found the body of the girl the demon was impersonating. Marquise Diaz flinches. Halo notes that the girl's family is very close to the Diaz family. Marquise Diaz starts sweating through his mustache. He claims he has no relation to the incident. Halo believes him, but says he needs cooperation. A rat tried to ruin the future of House Reston. The Crown Prince looks like he wants to hide under the table. We cut to a sickbed. The Emperor is talking to Iorian. He tells his son to never ever offend Grand Duke Hollow. Hollow announces he's stationing 4 squads of blue wolves in the palace. The royals realize they just got occupied. Halo says his sons will visit periodically for the investigation. It might take a long time. We live here now. The Crown Prince is realizing his political career is currently on life support. Diaz knows it's over. The peace that lasted 50 years just ended. Next night, Halo is having a drink with Gale Perrotin. They're in-laws, but they clearly respect each other's demon status. Gale notes that they've both been busy. He realizes Halo is about to tighten his grip on the capital. Halo's eyes are cold. He's planning to put Pale in charge of the capital task. Gale is surprised. Lodo Pale, the brother with no mana? Halo admits he kept Pale away because of tradition, but now he realizes Pale is the most suited for this political mess. He asks Gale to lend his strength to Pale. Gale is stunned. Halo asking for help? That isn't like him. Halo is basically breaking his own principles. But he's doing it for one reason: Karen. His grandson almost died, and he wants Pale to have the power to protect his own son. Gale asks if Karen is staying in the capital. Hollow says no. Karen is going home for 4 years of confinement. Actually training disguised as a penalty. Gale agrees to help. He's going to raise the boy properly. The 2 old men finish their drinks. The alliance is sealed. Next morning, Karen is at a tailor shop. He's getting some travel clothes made. The tailor, Ruhan, is friendly. He's even making a suit for Karen's coming-of-age ceremony. Amy bursts in, looking like she just fought a lawnmower. She's covered in bandages. Karen asks how she's feeling. She claims she's fine, then immediately winces in pain. Karen asks when she's paying back the meat money. She says she's getting officially appointed soon, and Sir Ryuk is going to train her personally. Karen gives her a look. Amy reveals that Grand Duke Halo agreed to be her patron. She bows, thanking Karen for everything. Karen tells her he'll teach her the moonlight technique, harshly. She leaves, pumped for her training arc. Then Ruhan stops Karen. He says he has something to give him. It's Sir Kane's Brook. Karen stares at it. It's his, from his past life. Ruhan says he saw Kane's image in Karen. He thinks Kane would have wanted him to have it. Karen takes it. He thanks Ruhan. He puts it on and asks Ruhan if it suits him. We get a parallel image of the past. It fits perfectly. Walking down the street, Leo notes people are staring. Karen asks why. A massive crowd is just watching them. Revelio shows up and says Karen is a celebrity now. The news of the duel spread everywhere. Prince Revelio, call me Prince! They sit on a park bench. Revelio is complaining about his magic use being outed. He keeps bringing up the World Tree Dew. Hugo is watching them, thinking this is a dizzying combination. The madman of the palace and the crazy dog of Cheonghaeseong. Hugo approaches. He thanks the prince on behalf of the family. Karen says the prince should be thanking him. Revelio looks at Karen. He thinks the prince is actually a decent human being. Revelio says it's time to go back to the palace. He tells Karen he'll be looking for him in 4 years. He pats Karen's head. Karen hopes he becomes the biggest bastard in the palace. The group watches him leave. Revelio thanks Karen internally. He doesn't have to worry about dying in the palace anymore. Hugo tells them to head back too. Karen looks at the sunset. Time to get ready for confinement. Our guy is officially leaving the capital. The confinement order is in effect, but Karen is waving like he just won a vacation. Leo asks if he's actually okay with being grounded for 4 years. Karen gets serious for a second. He tells Leo that this trip showed him just how many monsters are actually out there. If they want to survive what's coming, they need to be significantly more broken than they are now. Sir Jairus is in the front seat already nagging them. The family head's orders were clear: get home without causing a national incident. Karen's behaved for about 5 minutes. That's a new record for him. They stop at a massive industrial tower. Baron Rohan comes running out like he's meeting a K-pop idol. He offers them a feast, but Karen turns him down. They have one more stop to make before they disappear from the world. The group heads into the back alleys at night. Julio is waiting for them in the shadows. He greets Sir Jairus with actual respect. Apparently, Jairus did him a favor once, and in this world, that's basically a blood pact. He leads them to Lady Poina. She's lounging like a final boss. Karen immediately tries to act like they aren't friends with the 6th prince. Poina doesn't care. She's just happy Rio found a protector who can actually kill things. She has a parting gift: elven apple wine. Karen takes it, but Poina has one condition: keep an eye on the prince. She's basically paying Karen in high-end booze to be a bodyguard. Next morning, the train is ready. They meet Baron Rohan again at the station. The guy is officially the new Baron, and he's thriving. His mining business is booming, thanks to the Reston connection. He shows them the new workshop district for mana crystals. It's a massive operation. Rohan hands them a high-quality mana stone as a gift. Karen starts calculating how much he can sell this for before the box even closes. Leo tries to tell him not to be so greedy. Rohan and Jairus just watch them, realizing Karen hasn't changed at all. It's a relief to them that the kid who killed a demon is still just a money-hungry menace. They finally arrive at Cheonghaeseong. Karen's mom is there to give him the "you almost died" hug. Leo greets his aunt, looking a bit awkward. The family is back together, but the air is heavy. His mom turns to Leo and pats his head. She's just glad they both made it back healthy. Leo actually blushes. The kid is a sucker for positive reinforcement. Karen is officially home. Pale thanks him for coming back safely. 2 weeks later, the big meeting happens. Grand Duke Halo officially sentences Karen to 4 years of confinement. Karen accepts without a single complaint. The room is full of high-ranking family members watching the star get benched. Halo dismisses the younger generation. But he has one separate command. He turns to the uncles. From today onward, all family diplomacy will be handled by Pale. The uncles lose their minds. Pale has no mana talent. To them, putting him in charge is an insult to their bloodline. They call it an unprecedented decision. Halo gets up. He asks them who secures the family assets, who is trusted by the other nobles. He flexes his 9-star aura and the room basically starts vibrating. He asks Pale directly. This is a position of massive authority and responsibility. Pale looks terrified, but he accepts. Karen is looking out a window. Leon appears, the bandit slayer. She heard about his injuries and asks if he's feeling better. Then she drops the real reason she's here. She wants a spar. She's smiling, but she wants to use real swords. Karen stares her down. He flashes back to Sabina's evaluation of her. Leon lacks mana talent, but her raw swordsmanship is terrifying. Karen realizes she's a kindred spirit. He tells her it's an honor to be challenged by the bandit slayer. But there's a catch. They need Sir Garrus's permission. Leon reveals that Garrus left the fortress to go to the Northern Sea. Karen files that detail away. The north is where the Demon King is supposed to be. He suggests asking Grandfather instead. Uncle Hugo enters with the rest of the gang. He gives Karen a lecture about the family's rising reputation, tells him not to get complacent. I'll be watching. He promises that next time, they'll definitely cross swords. Hugo is clearly feeling the pressure of a 13-year-old catching up to him. The other uncle tries to play nice with Pale, claims he views Karen as his own son, suggests they should all join forces. Pale isn't buying the fake sincerity for a second. The uncle leaves with a look that says, I'm still planning something. Pale watches him go. Leo follows them out. Karen checks on his dad. Pale is stressed, but he tells Karen he'll definitely protect him. Karen just smiles. 2 years pass. Cheonghaiseong is covered in scaffolding. The city is vibrating with life. In just 2 years, an isolated fortress became an economic hub. Baron Rohan is in a carriage talking about how Pale is buried in work. Everything changed because of Karen. He's taller, sharper, and looking extremely expensive. He ignores the greetings and asks if Rohan brought it. He's holding a box like it's the Holy Grail. Rohan thinks he's still just a kid, even if he grew a foot. Karen offers to guide him to his father. He's acting surprisingly mature, or maybe he's just in a good mood because of the box. Rohan is impressed. The boy has actual presence now. They enter Pale's office. Pale is acting like a proper count, though he's clearly exhausted. Karen jokes about Rohan being rude. They get to business, magic stone processing. They have the stones, but they lack the technicians. High-level specialists don't just grow on trees. Karen drops a solution. If you can't find them in the Empire, look outside. Pale and Rohan are stunned. The southern kingdoms are in a brutal war. Karen points out that refugees want safety and better pay, but poaching experts from a war zone is basically an act of state espionage. Pale is worried about the logistics. Karen says they need someone from the main family line to go in person. Pale immediately tells Karen he is NOT leaving confinement. Karen grins. He's not going himself. There's my cousin who's just freeloading, right? Poor Leo just got volunteered for a suicide mission. At the train station, Leo is terrified. Karen is packing him off to a war zone. Karen tells him Sister Rion will meet him there. He gives him a list of mercenaries to contact in Tebe. Leo realizes this might be the last time they see each other for a long time. Karen gives him a thumbs up. If you get hurt, I'll kill you. That is the most Reston-style I love you possible. The train pulls out. Karen watches it go. Suddenly, a red-haired woman walks past him. She's wearing high-end armor and looks incredibly dangerous. Karen realizes he's making everyone else take the dangerous jobs. He smiles. That's the plan. As the sun sets, we see the train moving toward the south. We open on the Reston family castle. A guard is standing outside a reinforced door, looking like he's about to deliver news to a guy he's low-key terrified of. He knocks, calling for the young master. The door doesn't just open, it gets deleted. 4 years of confinement officially ends today. And our guy Karen, he didn't just grow up. He hit the protagonist glow-up button at maximum intensity. He looks at the guard like he's deciding whether to tip him or tax him. Karen walks through the halls narrating the state of the world. Things have gone from tense to complete dumpster fire. Demons are appearing everywhere, and the continent is basically one bad Tuesday away from a collapse. He meets his father, Pale. Pale looks at him and asks if the clear blue mana inside him is telling him he's ready to face this mess. Karen just smirks. If he weren't ready, he wouldn't be standing here asking to leave the house. He's officially bored of the North. He wants a mission. Pale looks tired, but he's still the best dad in the series. He mentions that Karen reaching the 6th star rank at 15 is actually insane. Even the family founder didn't grind that fast. Karen just plays it cool, but we know his tactical brain is already 3 steps ahead. Before he leaves, he asks for his payment. Pale hands him a card. This is a payment proxy certificate. In gamer terms, this is an infinite money glitch. It's the combined wealth of their entire mining operation. Suddenly, the door gets kicked in by a man who clearly doesn't believe in personal space. Meet Ulrich Lestern, the third elder. He's Karen's little grandpa, and he has the energy of a professional wrestler. He grabs Karen in a headlock that would probably kill a normal 4-star knight. Karen is just suffering through it. Ulrich isn't just here for a hug, though. He's brought a mission from the south, a request for assistance because monsters are getting spicy on the border. The Reston family elders, who usually hate Karen, are suddenly being nice. Karen realizes this isn't a routine monster hunt. Ulrich laughs. Our guy is too sharp. The real reason? A name Karen hasn't heard in 50 years. Karya Acht, one of the members of the Black Dog Death Squad that served Kane Lator. Turns out, Halo didn't kill them all. He spared them. Karen is internally screaming. They've been living in hiding, under surveillance until Karya's trail recently popped up in the south. The mission is simple: subjugate monsters, but find the old man. And whatever you do, don't let the Holy Kingdom zealots find him first. Ulrich leaves, and Karen is left with a lot of questions about his past life's baggage. Flash forward to the train heading south. Karen is looking at his sword guillotine. He realizes his old friend's moonlight technique was actually a secret. He's not looking forward to dealing with the Holy Kingdom religious nuts. His plan is to disguise himself as a mercenary in the city of Thebes. Guillotine starts talking back. It reminds him about the jewel Halo gave him. Karen thinks it's just a shiny rock. The sword is losing its mind. "Pour mana into it, you idiot!" Karen does it, and the train carriage fills with light. Suddenly, he's dripped out in the most aggressive way possible. This is Cabana. Ancient tech. It's a shape-shifting armor that responds to his imagination. Guillotine is proud. Karen is just glad he has something that doesn't scream, "I'm a rich noble." We arrive at Reborn. It's a border city, and it looks like a scene out of a post-apocalyptic movie. Refugees are begging for coins, and the local guards are treating them like trash. Karen is met by Julio, a silver-haired merc who actually respects our guy. They walk through the city, which is literally built on gears and steam. The borders are sealed because of the war. Karen asks why they're going to City Hall instead of a hideout. Julio explains that the underworld and the government are currently having a brunch meeting. They walk into a room where Mayor Grain and Lady Poina are looking over a map. Grain sees Karen and looks like he's about to have a heart attack. Poina, the elf boss, plays it cool. She explains that with all the refugees, they need to manage jobs and housing. Karen smiles. He knows management is just code for profit, but he doesn't care about their shady deals. He needs info on an 8-star knight. The room goes quiet. Grain makes a quick exit because he knows when the conversation gets too high level for his survival. Poina sets up a soundproof barrier. Karen isn't just here to kill monsters. He's looking for Karya. An 8-star knight in this region would be a legend. He thinks the guy is hiding in the Great Southern Forest. Poina smirks. The forest belongs to the elves, and elves hate humans. Karen has to earn their trust first. Cut to Reborn at sunset. Karen is on a horse, internally cursing Poina. She gave him a side quest. Apparently, Reborn has a massive slave market problem, and elves are the primary product. She wants him to rescue them to prove he's one of the good humans. Karen tries to complain, but Poina hits him with the "aren't you a wolf" line. He realizes he's been played. He negotiates for a subspace pouch, then asks for World Tree Dew. Poina calls him shameless, but they have a deal. Back in the present, Karen approaches the city gates of Reborn. He's wearing the Cabana armor, disguised as a generic merc. The guard asks for ID. Karen tells him he's headed to Kay's kingdom. The guard lets him through, warning him it's hell down there. Karen ignores him. He notes that for a border town, the military presence is way too high. Public order should be perfect with this many troops. So if there's a slave market, it means the military is the one running it. He walks into a tavern. It's the classic, shady informant setting. He sits next to a one-eyed guy who looks like he's been through a blender. The guy tells him to get lost. Karen just stares. The one-eyed guy realizes this mercenary is actually a noble in disguise. Karen drops the bombshell, "I heard you deal with elves." The guy panics. "Pardon? Elves are hard to get." Karen asks if this is enough to make it easy. He pulls out the proxy certificate. The guy's eye nearly pops out. Karen tosses him the card. "Check it." Then the mana flares. Blue light starts leaking from his fist. "But if you're wasting my time, you're going to pay a very specific price." The tavern goes dead silent, with our guy Karen politely asking the local slave trader to open the door. And by politely asking, I mean he literally kicked the guy through a wall. He's got that "I have a flight in 20 minutes, don't test me" energy. Kobler is currently going through a midlife crisis on the floor. He realized the black card is real, which means Karen could literally buy his entire life and delete it. He switches into full "please don't kill me" mode, opening the secret passage like a good little tour guide. Karen steps into the tunnel. It looks decent, but once they get outside to the manpower agency, the vibes get rancid. Kobler is trying to play it cool, acting like he's running a 5-star resort. He claims his detention center is systematic and professional. He starts greeting the staff, asking Dale how his health is after seeing the doctor. It's the most cursed HR department I've ever seen. The goons are bowing, Kobler is smiling, and Karen is standing there like, did this man really just try to rebrand slavery as a career path? Kobler calls them products instead of slaves. He officially introduces himself as the president of the Kobler Manpower Agency. This guy is the LinkedIn of human trafficking. Karen asks how he even gets his products. Kobler tries to say it's a trade secret until Karen winds up a punch. Then suddenly, it's open book time. He claims they take in runaways and educate them with skills. But the real detail drops here. The Lord of Reben's personal soldiers are the ones guarding the place. Kobler admits he's a former slave himself, and that the whole operation runs on massive kickbacks to the government. Karen's internal monologue is just, okay, so the entire city is cooked. He watches Kobler whistle a tune while walking past Misery. He realizes this guy isn't just a villain, he's a specific kind of delusional. Finally, they arrive. The Reben auction house. It's hidden in the forest, looking like the final boss dungeon for a corruption arc. Karen looks it over. Then he pulls a classic MC move. He tells Kobler he's looking for a side business and offers to invest. Kobler gets greedy, talking about how trust is the foundation of business. Karen doesn't do trust. He draws his blade and reminds the man that his life was a gift, and he can take it back whenever he wants. Kobler's soul basically leaves his body. They reach the front gate. The guards try to stop them, saying Kobler shouldn't be there today. They demand an invitation. Kobler starts screaming about the black card. The guards pause. Karen is just annoyed at this point. He notices these guards aren't just goons, they've been properly trained. These are actual knights. A guy named Noor steps out, wearing a golden mask and looking like he's about to sell me a crypto scam. He verifies the card, telling Karen he'll pay for the time wasted. Karen just stares him down until he backs off. We enter the auction. It's high society evil. People in masks, wine flowing, and Karen sitting in the back eating grapes like he's watching a bad movie. He's waiting for the main event. Suddenly, the world goes red. The atmosphere shifts from a fancy party to something much darker. We see a vision, or a memory, a room full of corpses, blood everywhere, and a red-haired boy with red eyes standing over him. This kid has that "I've seen the end of the world and it was mid" look. A fat nobleman in the background is laughing, telling the boy to do as he knows best. The boy raises his sword. His eyes glow. Absolute menace behavior. Return to present, Kobler snaps Karen back to reality. The auction is actually starting. Noor announces the next product captured from the southern Great Forest. The curtains pull back, and they bring out an elf. Karen's eyes narrow. That mana, something is very off about this one.